Greetings, brothers. Good afternoon. Let me remove this horrible live now thing. Let's get up the chat. Nice. How is everybody? Adam, Highland, Julian, Ollie, Smithy. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all well. I'm doing pretty well myself today. So as always, we're here for 5 army lists every Sunday. And if you're familiar with the stream, then you'll know that we'll compare them, and we have a nice little graph that we'll fill everyone's score in, and we'll have a look at that. And yeah, I mean, I guess if anyone is new to the stream, I always get asked, how do you submit an army list for review? Essentially, it's dead easy. All you gotta do is go over onto Blood Angels Commander YouTube channel, hit up this community button, and then post in the most recent community post. Just post a comment with your army list into the community section there, and that will let you let me find it dead easily, and we'll add it to the queue. At the moment, we have a little bit of a queue. This week has been a bit crazy in terms of like new subscribers and members onto the channel. I kind of had hoped that the Contemptor video would do well. I guess it did really well, or at least it seems like it's done really well. And yeah, this week it's just been subscriber central. Last night on the live stream we had about 10, so hopefully maybe we'll see a bunch of subscribers come through today as well. So yeah, hey Mark, hey Buon, hey Ollie, hey Adam, Robert. Can we run a Contemptor? I don't know how to say that. Insidious class. Currently in 40k. Is that the jump pack version? If it is, no. The Contemptor that we get access to is just. I have the data sheet. I can show you it. 1 second. I believe this is the only Contemptor we have access to right now, and I think I covered all the weapon options in my video this week. What I didn't cover was there's a couple of different, like, for if you do take a claw, you can take a graviton blaster, a heavy flamer, or a plasma blaster. Graviton blaster is basically an assault 2 grav gun. The plasma blaster is an assault 2 plasma gun. And then we all know what a heavy flamer is. So that's all I didn't cover, but all the other weapon options I think I did cover. And I think it was Mark that posted out something really interesting about this. Good evening, good afternoon, Leon, Castellan, Mick. Nice to see you guys all tuning in. Mark from the Facebook group, and I guess in live chat, told us that something that's really interesting about the Contemptor is, right, it's like a chicken dreadnought in that it doesn't have a profile. So even when it has 1 wound left, I guess it still fights on highest profile, because it doesn't have a profile. So does that in some ways make the Contemptor maybe a little bit better than the Redemptor? Because your Redemptor obviously has a medium profile and a low profile. So in some ways, yeah, the Contemptor is probably going to be a pretty cool option, actually, just because yeah, it has no profile. So I guess we can you can use that to your advantage, I guess. And I generally think, like, I think this twin Volkite covering is really interesting. Could certainly cost 5 points. Like a twin link las cannon or the twin auto cannons were quite a bit more expensive. But for 5 points, I mean, as long as the AP0 kind of sucks, but there is ways of giving it some AP. Good morning, Carrie. How you doing? Hope you're well. And thank you, everybody that's tuned in today. So we have 5 lists that I want to do today, as always, I guess. And the 5 lists that we have today are going to be desktop lists. Mark Jackson, Northern Hero, Ian. Not going to try and say it. Ian Conanser, hopefully I said it right. Ollie Simmons and Ray Davey. So if you didn't, if your list isn't here, then I'm sure if you've submitted it, it's in the queue. we do have quite a big queue at the moment. We are getting a lot of list submissions, but you know, that is the way of the world right now. And also, if you do enjoy the stream, or if you're new here, then please hit that like button or consider subscribing. It really does help me out. And I mean, all the comments that we did, that were, you know, all the comments and likes on Friday's video really have helped the channel out enormously. So thank you very much for that. And yeah, I mean, the other thing is, if you haven't been tuning into my last couple of videos, then just be aware that we are going to have a live. It's not going to be a live. It's going to be a giveaway. And I guess the giveaway will probably be either in this week's Friday Tactics video or next week's Friday's Tactics video. And so make sure you are ready to check out the Tactics video, and you'll see it's going to be dead easy to enter. And basically, wherever you are, we'll be giving away a bunch of different boxes. Basically, the new pre-order boxes, so the multi-part kits for the Radicators and Blade Guards, and we're also going to be giving away that new Storm Speeder. I think I think you can choose which of the three that you make from it, but I don't recall which one I ordered. Okay, so nice to see all the members in here. Nice to see some of you members with your 2-month yellow helmets now. You guys have joined the Salt ranks, and yeah, and it's not too long before you guys either join the Death Company or the Veterans, so that's nice to see as well. Just saw Audiobook's Tactics video where GW have allowed Dark Angels Interrogator Chaplains to take chainswords, give them the Teeth of Terra, Relics and Mantra of Strength for up to 10 attacks, Strength 8, D3 damage, -3 +1 to wound. Isn't oh yeah, so you could Mantra of Strength the chainsword. I was going to say, isn't the Teeth of Terra isn't the Teeth of Terra 2 damage? Do you know what? I think the Teeth of Terra on a Lost Captain is pretty good, though. But, I mean, that does seem a bit mad that, you know, there's something to be said about, like, if you get your book at the beginning of the edition, then sometimes you have to wait a little bit. Like, there's pros and cons in getting your book, like, one of the first codexes of the new edition. You end up, sometimes it hurts you a little bit. There's always a bit of power creep as the new books come out, and I guess that's what we're seeing with the Dark Angels books. And you know what? I think the Death Guard books seem pretty strong as well. Like, there seems to be a lot of ways for Death Guard to fight into Blood Angels. I think Death Guard are going to be pretty strong. So, all right, let's get on to the first. Let's go on to the first army list. And today it's going to be Mark Jackson. For some... There we go. Alright, Chris, thank you so much for becoming a member. It is really appreciated. List names. Submission number 1, Mark Jackson. Here we go. Alright, so I wasn't able to post into the comments the army list, so I guess the comments sometimes, they must close like 20 minutes before the live stream starts or something, so I'll post all the lists into the comments after the live stream. And if you look up in the top right hand corner, at any point if you catch a stream on the replay, I'll put what list we're talking about in the top right hand corner. So we can keep up with that. And yeah, I guess if you just become a member, there are some members only posts over in the community section as well, Chris, so you can check those out. And hit me up if you have any questions. I generally try and make myself very available for any members' questions. And yeah, you guys in the chat, you're so nice, so thanks very much for that. Okay, so greetings, brother. Here's the list, and the thinking behind it is I love infiltrators with comms array and the Phobos captain. They can reroll hits of 1s as if they were next to him, and I can hide them 50 shots from the max. Okay, this is going to be an interesting list. I like it already. I figured the priest would go with the Sanguinary Guard, and the chaplains would go with the Death Company, some suppressors to do Overwatch prevention, and 9 shots. Yep, I am actually going to run a squad of suppressors in my next army list. I think their Overwatch prevention is generally very useful. Or Redemptor and Eradicators to kill high toughness targets. Yes, so this sounds... Some of it sounds similar to what I do. Maybe not all these infiltrators, but let's have a look. So, we just have 1 extra relic, which maybe is fine, but maybe we'll talk about that at the end. So we have the Captain and Phobos armor, Then we have a chaplain with Mantra of Strength, Canticle of Hate. So we've got the +1 attack, +1 strength, +1 toughness, and the ability to do those 6-inch consolidation moves. He is the Master of Sanctity. He has the Infernal Pistol and the Jump Pack. So I guess he's either going to deep strike. What did you say with the chaplain? He's going to be with the Death Company, likely. Okay. We have a Sanguinary Priest who will be the Selfless Healer, and he's wearing the Indomitus armor. It seems to be the staple for Sanguinary Priest. The two options I see for the Sanguinary Priest are the Indomitus armor or the Teeth of Terra. I think that one way he's survivable, another way he can do a little bit of damage. So I think both choices are good. I guess the Teeth of Terra choice means you have to be really careful where you're positioning him. With this choice, you can be a little less worried about that. Okay, and then we have Infiltrators with Comms Arrays, and we have 5 squads of them. Like, holy deep strike denial. If you're playing against any sort of enemy that has that needs to deep strike, then I guess they're not deep striking anywhere. I guess they maybe even have strategic reserves, have issues with that. And I guess the comms array, if you're not familiar with that, what it does is it gives the Phobos captains rights of battle, I think is the name of the aura. The aura that lets them reroll ones. So these guys can reroll ones anywhere on the board because they have these comms arrays. So it's a bit different from a normal Blood Angels list, but it's got a bit of shooting in it, so I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's a ton of infiltrators. I mean, I usually manage to screen my deployment zone pretty well with 2 squads. So I mean, I guess in terms of having board control, if you deployed like 2 squads in your deployment zone, 2 squads into the middle of the board, and then 1 squad aggressively, you could almost like zone the entire board. So it's interesting, but also, I mean, it's going to be hard for me to rate that because like I've never seen it done. But I guess if you do come up against armies that need to make deep strikes and charges, they're just going to have the worst day ever. So I guess situationally, it's going to be so strong against some things, but might not be the most amazing against others. But I'm sure you know that if you've picked 5 squads of infiltrators. All right, we have a Death Company, and it's 2 for 5 with chainsword bolt pistols, and then 2 with thunderhammers. It seems like a good ratio to me. Usually I go with like 4 and 1, but I mean 5 and 2 is absolutely fine, no problem with that at all. We have the Redemptor with the Stormbolter, the Rocket Pods, the Macroplasma, and the Onslaught. And this, if there is any doubt in anyone's mind about what is the best loadout to put on the Redemptor, then watch this week's video that went up on the channel. It's the newest video in the Tactics playlist. This is 100% the best loadout to have on the Redemptor. Unless, I suppose, you're fighting against like Sisters of Battle or another army that has a lot of units below toughness 4. And then the double onslaught cannon can come out on top. But I think if you're fighting against anything like Marines, especially against the new Death Guard with their -1 damage, other dreadnoughts, then this is 100% going to be the best loadout for the dreadnought. And I think he's survivable enough to not worry about shooting the macro on high power, right? Like he's got 13 wounds, so I mean, if even if you roll a 6 for the number of shots and you roll a single 1 to get like a mortal wound, taking 1 mortal wound on a 12 wound on a 13 wound model, taking him down to 12 wounds, I don't think that's an issue at all. Then we have the Sanguinary Guard, and we've got 2 Infernal Pistols, 2 Power Fists, axes and Infernal Pistols, and then swords and bolters. It's a lot of Infernal Pistols, I'd say, like maybe almost too many, and that the 6 inches of the Infernal Pistols can be very limiting. I mean, if you get into close combat and for some reason the enemy survives those initial turns, because not many things do survive against a large Sanguinary Guard, like a Sanguinary Guard of 7, that's 35 attacks. If you're near your Warlord, you can get +1 to your attacks, or so +1 to your hits, so you're like usually hitting on 2s. If you're near your Warlord, usually your Warlord have some way to give them rerolls as well. So, if the enemy do survive your 35 hits, then I guess having 4 Infernal Pistols you can shoot in close combat will be quite strong. But I'm not sure there's that many enemies that survive 35 hits, right? It's interesting. Um, my experience with the Sanguinary Guard is I prefer, like, I usually run a 9 man. I think I run 8 or 9, and I like 8 bolters and an infernal pistol, or 7 bolters and an infernal pistol. And the infernal pistol is nice to have, but more often than not, you won't be in range to fire it. I mean, I guess, like I said, if the enemy survives the turn of combat and then you get to shoot, then I guess I could see value in it. So just maybe, I mean, maybe it's fine, but like I just put a slight question mark over the loadout in the Sanguinary Guard. But I mean, I don't necessarily think it's any sort of issue. And then for fast attack, we've got 2 suppressor squads, and suppressors did get a buff. They are a bit of a neglected unit from Games Workshop, though. They did get a buff into the 9th edition where every suppressor got 1 extra shot with their autocannons. So they are 48 inches, strength 7, -1, 2 damage. And obviously, you have 3 suppressors in the squad, each with 3 shots. So you can split the fire. You can fire at 3 different targets. And yeah, like their ballistic skill is 3, right? So if you have 3 shots with ballistic skill 3, you're usually going to hit. And any infantry models they hit cannot fire Overwatch. So I feel like 1 squad alone can pretty much disable all Overwatch. So 2 squads, um, I don't know if I rate them too much for damage, right? 9 shots hitting on 3, so you're going to hit 6 times. Let's say we were going to shoot into other Marines. So we hit the 6 times, we're going to wound on 3s, so we essentially do 4 wounds. 4 wounds at -1 against other Marines, they save on 50% chance at that. So basically, 1 squad of suppressors shooting at a squad of like intercessors will kill 2 models. And I guess will prevent Overwatch. So I guess are these guys designed to kill, or are they designed to turn off the Overwatch? I feel like they're more designed to turn off the Overwatch, and yeah, sure, they kill a couple of things. I think probably what we maybe consider doing here. I am loving all the green names in chat, by the way. So thank you so much for everybody that's become a member of the channel recently. I'm thinking maybe a better option here would be to try and drop one of these suppressor squads and sneak in a whirlwind. I mean, I think you could probably, if you like having all these infiltrators, you could always just like drop 1 squad of infiltrators and make each of these squad. Oh well, I mean, I guess if you made them 6 man, then they wouldn't be so good for like transhuman and stuff. I don't know if you need 5 squads of infiltrators. I mean, unless there's a real value in this tactic. But yeah, I mean, I'm thinking that a whirlwind here might help you a lot. I'm not sure a second suppressor squad adds that much. I mean, the suppressor squads can't deny Overwatch of vehicles or monsters, but a whirlwind can. And the whirlwind does indirect fire, right? So it can fire anywhere on the board. I think it's 72 inches for a whirlwind right now. So if you sit it in one corner of the board, it'll still be able to shoot the entire board, right? Two squads is ace. Their actual gunshots are not weak at strength 7, and they can do work against monsters and light vehicles too. Yeah, I don't know if I'm denying that 2 squads is bad. I'm just thinking that the whirlwind makes you a little bit more versatile. If you feel like there's a lot of charges you need to make, then maybe the whirlwind helps you a lot. And somebody pointed out this to me in the group just yesterday, or was it on last night's stream? Maybe my life of 40k all merges together. Let me double check this, right? And let's just check on this rule, because this rule might swing your decision. So we're looking at suppression fire for the whirlwind. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase when a whirlwind from your army is selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time this model makes an attack with a weapon that has the blast ability, if a hit is scored from that attack, then until the start of the next turn, the target cannot fire Overwatch or set to defend, and cannot be selected to fight until all eligible units from your army have done so. So, until the start of the next turn. Let me. set to defend and cannot be selected. Oh, I'm missing it. Until the... If a hit is scored, then until the start of your next turn. Sorry, I said the next turn. Your next turn. Which means that, as well as turning off the Overwatch, and as well as preventing them setting to defend, you're making them fight last, not only in your turn, but they have to fight last in their turn as well. So, I mean, there's multiple ways you can use that to your benefit, right? Like, you know, like people have talked a lot about Mortarion and how damn strong he is. I mean, you could suppressive fire Mortarion just so that when he charges your guys, you still get to fight first. Because he cannot fight until all eligible units from your army have done so. So you can basically, you could pick the strongest opponent. You could pick your opponent's strongest close combat unit that you know is going to charge you in the next turn, and you can just make it that they can't fight first. In against something like Death Company, Sanguinary Guard, that's going to be hugely effective. This is why pretty much I'm going to include a Whirlwind in my next army list. I actually was going to include the Whirlwind before I realised it actually affected their turn as well. So I think it was Highland Phoenix that pointed this out. And that is a crazy good stratagem. I don't know if people realise just quite how good it is. I've got no problem with suppressors. Like, I think I'm going to run 3 of them myself. You know, by all means, if you feel that 2 squads are like fit with this list well, and go for it. Go for it, Mark. But I think I would like to include a. You know what? You could even, like, just looking down at your Eradicators. This is a 4-man Eradicator squad. You could literally drop 1 Eradicator, and you could pick up the Whirlwind, because a Whirlwind is like, I want to say like 135 points with the Vengeance Launcher. And Eradicator is 45 points, so that would give you it. And then I guess you would have 10 points to play with. You could throw a Helix Gauntlet onto one of your Infiltrator squads, or you could do something else. But I mean, like, as I said, it's totally up to you, of course. I just think that Whirlwind strategy is going to be really key for Blood Angels in the near future, especially like Death Guard have some crazy new relic that makes everything within 7 inches fight last. I've fought up against Death Guard and got my melee guy slaughtered. I mean, I won the game, but like, it didn't feel like a confident win at all. So just throwing that out there. Okay. Controversial, but I don't like Whirlwinds. Yeah, I mean, they are reliant on having the CP for the strat, but I mean, I don't think we're nearly as CP hungry as we were in previous editions, right? Like, in previous editions, you had like Descent of the Angels, which you wanted to pay the CP on for the 3d6 charge. You had Upon Wings of Fire, which you used all the time to redeploy units around the battlefield. Sometimes you even just start your units on the map and just instantly redeploy them. Yeah, I feel like if I think of the Blood Angels Codex that we got, and I feel like of the stratagems, like I feel like I'm much more likely to spend CP on like relics and Heroes of the Chapter than I am to desperately need to spend a ton of CP during the game. And the last few games I've played, I only started with like 6 CP, right? Because I was fielding that super heavy tank, and it cost 4 CP to even field it. So I was literally starting with like 5 or 6 CP, and I was ending the game with 2 or 3 CP. So I mean, I'm only like winning games and only spending 6 CP in them, just because I don't think we're nearly as hungry for CP as we were before. But I mean, that's maybe just my opinion. I mean, maybe you find a lot of value and synergies from the CP, but I think that the turning off Overwatch, and I think that the fight last for any model on the board is crazy powerful. I think that's more powerful than any of the damage the Whirlwind would do, Tony. You know, you're saying that you don't rate it for damage. Yeah, I don't rate Whirlwind for damage. I mean, when I was playing against like the Iron Hands player that I play, that was the last time I ran the Whirlwind. I'd shoot the Whirlwind into like a squad of intercessors on an objective and kill one of them. You know, like it would have taken the whole game to kill the whole squad. Like I don't rate its damage almost at all. So okay, yeah. So this list is very different to what we would normally see. And then yeah, the one thing I guess I was going to say was, is there not? Surely there's a relic or a warlord trait that this Phobos captain can take. What about? Oh, that's a good point. What about Lord of Deceit? Lord of Deceit lets you redeploy 3 of your infiltrator squads before the game starts, right? Because you can redeploy 3 both Phobos units. So I feel like there's definitely something I think that you could take on your captain with Phobos armor, and maybe you could even play Angel's Exemplar on the Sanguinary Priest to give him something else. Like you could give, like, you could take the Teeth of Terra and then give him Artificer armor, or you could give him that other one. What's it called? Gift of Foresight. That might be good on here. Like reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, 1 save, just to give him even more chance of surviving. But yeah, I think CP spent at the beginning of the game generally are very valuable, right? I'm trying to see, like, I guess the only other thing I could think you could do is you could maybe give one of your infiltrator squad's sergeants quake bolts as well. So like, give them quake bolts so that they can shoot the quake bolt at whatever the Sanguinary Guard or Death Company are charging, to give them that +1 to their hit roll as well. So I think there's a couple of more points you could possibly spend at the beginning, pre-game, to just sort of like get some value. I'm not like, you're not going to be doing a lot of Upon Wings of Fire. You're not going to be doing a whole lot of Upon Descent of the Angels. So like this list is a bit in a way like my list, where you're not really going to be CP hungry at all. So why not spend a few CP and maybe start the game with 8 or something, and buff up your characters and buff up on your squads. And I mean, if you are going to deploy one of your infiltrator squads aggressively, then it would make sense that they have quake bolts. So if they do end up charging, they would end up hitting the enemies on 2s. Any unit can be good in the right hands and used the right way. Yeah, that's very true. If there are no auto strats for us anymore, so suppression fire now and again is fine. Yeah, I mean, I think this list would benefit a little bit from the Whirlwind to just give that suppression fire option. And like somebody said, it is 72 inches and it doesn't need line of sight, so you can just, if you have a backfield objective that's in cover, you can literally put it in there, or you can just hide it in a building. And Lord of Deceit is amazing, because yeah, you can let them deploy all their units and then redeploy 3 of these infiltrators. And I assume you're going to deploy some of these infiltrators aggressively to screen out the board, so you could really limit what your opponent could do, and then fall back if you feel like you're overly exposed or something like that. Okay, so interesting list. Quite a bit different. So this is a cool list in that it is a bit different. We still have our Death Company and Sanguinary Guard, which I like. Obviously, we've talked a lot about how the Redemptor Dreadnought is very good. We could run that with our Eradicators around it to get some reroll 1 action. I suppose we could have some suppressors start the game around the Redemptor as well to get some rerolls 1 action. So I mean, Wisdom of the Ancient would be one stratagem you would be using. The 5 Infiltrator squad feature themselves. You know, they're survivable. They can hide. I guess we've buffed them with the reroll 1s. They auto wound on 6s as well. And then I guess the Chaplain deep striking with the Death Company, potentially the Sanguinary Priest deep striking with Sanguinary Guard, and then your Captain maybe like, I don't often use this Captain in Phobos armor. What's his war gear look like? Captain in Phobos armor. I think I ran him once when in what was it? That Vanguard. The Vanguard detachment stuff came out, but yeah, I haven't run him much since then. So Captain with Phobos armor has a master crafted Instigator bolt carbine, combat knife, grenades, and a camo cloak. Alright, so he's harder to hit. I didn't realize that. But he has... Oh, he has a combat knife. Okay, so he does have a melee weapon. I was going to say he's got no melee weapon. But no, he's got a combat knife. Okay. So he can kind of snipe at enemy characters as well, I guess, with his assault carbine if you wanted to. I guess you probably just keep him in cover and then he gets... then he gets a crazy good save, I guess. Like it would just move to like a 1+ save. Yeah, I mean he's a cool model. You just it's a bit different to what not most Blood Angels players run, right? He is crap. Well, I mean he's not totally crap. I guess if you have him in cover, you just take a pop shot every turn at an enemy character. Maybe an enemy has like some weak characters like Tech Marines or apothecaries or whatever. You just take pop shots at them, and you keep him in cover so that he's got so he has that 1+ save, I guess. It's strange that he doesn't have an invulnerable save, but because like most captains come with an invulnerable save, but oh sorry, no, he has an Iron Halo. Okay, so he still has his 4+ invulnerable save. Oh, he's not totally crap then. All right, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a warlord trait I would give him. I don't particularly feel that there is, but maybe, you know, like there's no trait that's going to buff him. So I'd probably take Lord of Deceit on him, give you that redeploy option, and then yeah, maybe like Quake Bolts in one of the infiltrator squads, or what did I say? Angel's Exemplar under your Sanguinary Priest to give him another trait or something stronger. Okay. Some great knowledge in this chat. I haven't played Blood Angels in a few editions, and the whole primaries thing is so new to me. Yeah, I mean the guys in the chat are super knowledgeable in here. We learn a ton every week on this live stream. So, okay, we'll score you, and scoring is going to be really interesting. Normally we go for about a 9 if you have 3 Phobos units. And then we do like a 9.5 if you have Phobos units and like Rites of War or some way to add OBSEC. But I mean, with 5 OBSEC units and 5 Infiltrator units, is it a 10? I mean, it's like 9. We've gone for probably the highest score we've ever given someone for OBSEC. I mean, maybe if you had Rites of War as well in there, then it becomes a 10. I don't know if we really give out 10s. How's the list going to do against infantry horde type units? Well, you have a lot of bolters. You have those suppressors to turn off the Overwatch. You have... yeah, I mean, potentially you can do 50 bolter shots if these guys rapid fire, right? So you have a lot of bolter shots. We have the suppressor shots. So I think, and I mean the infiltrators have auto wounds as well. So like I think you probably have enough to kill screens. I'm trying to think like maybe there is some screens that you'd have a little bit of difficulty with, but it's very different. Like there's a lot more shooting in this list than normally that I would see. Most people would run just half this amount of shooting in close combat. So I mean, let's say like a 9. Someone else said it should be a 10. Okay. The infiltrators lack a bit of staying power against elite units, so they can't fight back that well. I mean, no, I mean they can't fight back that well, but I mean they do have red thirst. So they will, you know, they will probably wound okay. It is a bit tricky to put an exact value on it, I guess. But I mean, they do have transhumans, so I mean, like you can survive with infiltrators, and like I've quite often in my games I have charged enemies with infiltrators, right? Like, later in the game, you're right. Probably elite units might cause you a few problems, but I mean, like against other units and infantry, then you're probably all good. Um, yeah, I mean, and infiltrators probably don't have the best shooting, but I mean, if you compare it to like intercessors or uh, tactical marines, I suppose like it's probably better than tactical marines, and it's maybe similar to intercessors. Like I tend to run straight to assault doctrine as a Blood Angels player, and I guess these ones maybe like they're going to benefit a little bit more from the tactical doctrine. So I mean, maybe that's your call in turn 2 or 3 if you decide to stay for one more turn to make your infiltrators a little stronger. Um, I guess it would be a tough call. It depends on how much you think you're going to be getting, how many charges you're going to get off in turn 3. Uh, Okay, and then anti-vehicle monster. So we have those. We have that squad of eradicators, and I guess we've got the suppressors to deal with some lighter armor. With the Rejector Dreadnought, who is going to be a little bit of a bullet magnet in that he is the one big heavy unit that we have. Um, but I mean, eradicators point for point are very decent. This is probably actually gives you about 550 points of like heavier shooting, and then I guess you've got 500 points of lighter shooting. So um, yeah, it's so different to what I normally see. I'm thinking like an 8-5, maybe a 9 as well in here. I think it's a little bit weaker. I think that the amount of infiltrators that you have makes your monster and your effectiveness a little bit weaker. As we said, if the infiltrators have to go resort to hand to hand combat, they are a little bit weaker. So maybe like an 8-5. And then mobility wise, I actually think you're going to be very mobile because you're going to have that potential redeploy from the Lord of Deceit if you wanted it. You also have the guerrilla tactics we can use on the infiltrators. And then I guess your suppressors, your sanguinary guard, your death company are all mobile. I have seen more mobile lists. I guess your chaplain and priest are mobile, but yeah, I mean, like I think it's solid enough. Maybe like an 8, and then specialization. So we normally mark people down if we feel the list is too specialized, and is it a little bit too specialized with 25 infiltrators and a full boss captain? It is different. So yeah, I mean, I guess probably what we'll say is like 7.5 for specialization. Like it's gonna make some enemies cry when they see it, right? Like I played against a Sisters of Battle list where he literally had 1,000 points of deep strike. He's gonna suffer so bad against this, right? Like he's not going to be able to do any of his deep strike charges. He's not even going to be able to do his usually drops down. He drops down. I always forget the name. There's Seraphim and Zeraphim. One of them has pistols, one of them swords. He drops down the ones with guns and uses the CP so that they can fire the infernal pistols at double range, which is 12 inches. They're not even going to be in range to shoot. So you're gonna make some lists cry when you play against them, but then against some other lists, the 25 infiltrators aren't going to be as effective. I think there's a balance to be had there. I mean, if you like it and you're not trying to be super competitive, then by all means go for it. But I think if you are going to try and become more competitive, I think a good mix of infiltrators and incursors is generally a little bit better. The incursors, I suppose, just because they've got those combat blades for close combat. So I mean, you could always drop like if you wanted to keep your 4-man eradicator squad, you could drop like 2 squads of infiltrators and change them into incursors. And I think with five full boss units, you can still pretty much zone the whole board. But yeah, I mean, I think it is an interesting list, and it's probably a less killy list, and it's made up by the fact that you can do a lot of anti-horde and objective scoring. And sometimes in ninth edition, you win games on scoring objectives, right? You don't need to actually kill a single enemy model to win the game sometimes, and you know, it's I guess it's just Warhammer is a little bit different at the moment. Some people hate the fact that you have to hold objectives. I actually kind of think it's I think it's more balanced than it was in 8th edition. So, um, welcome Daniel. How you doing? So cool. All right, Mark. Thank you very much for your list. Thank you for sending something very different, and also thank you for leaving a little note about. I like little notes. You know, like people tell me a little bit about their thoughts and reasonings behind the lists. It makes it a bit easier for me to understand what's, you know, how you're going to play it or what's going to go on. So, all right, we're going to move on to Northern Hero next. I think he is in the chat as well. Maybe. I'm not sold on the comms array. I'd love to play a list like this. More Marines equals cool. I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. You know what? We can probably do it on any dice. Hey, Northern Hero, how you doing? If we have to roll a d6 and we need at least a 3 to hit, you hit on 66%, right? We all know that. It's like 2/3 to hit. If we have to roll a d6 and we get to reroll ones, we hit on 77%. So I guess if you think about it, if he's got 25 infiltrators and they all get to reroll ones, normally, what would that be? 25 times 0.66. Normally he'd hit 16 times, and having those comms array means that he would hit 19 times. So it's about 3.5 more shots. I'm not sure how much value there is in that. I mean, like, over the course of the game, I guess it would be the equivalent of, like, 3.5 times, so, like, 17 shots. And I guess, but that also includes their close combat, right? Like, it's not just their shooting that benefits from that. While a friendly chapter model is within 6, each time the model attacks, reroll hits of 1. So yeah, I mean, it benefits the infiltrator's close combat as well. I mean, in some ways that, before we move on to the next list, in some ways that might benefit your incursors even more, right? Because your incursors would be stronger with their combat blades. So maybe the way to improve that list a little bit, Mark, would be to take some incursors. Okay. Moving on to Northern next. And see that you also have your little yellow 2-month membership Northern Hero thing. Really appreciate that, brother. Thank you. Okay, hey Commander, I caught a couple of mistakes in the list I submitted last week, so here's an updated one with corrections. The basic idea of the list is to hold the backfield with infiltrators and intercessors, advancing to the middle with hellblasters and assault infiltrators with character support. Death Company, I'm guessing, Chaplain, and Sanguinary Guard and Deep Strike coming out in turn 3 ideally for some hard-hitting action, possibly linking up with the Chapter Master and Librarian Dread. Hellblasters are highly underrated in my opinion, especially assault ones with the constant -4 AP. With my math, if I have reroll ones around them, I should be able to do an average of 11 damage to Death Guard per squad per turn. We'll be lacking a little bit V's Dreads or a list with lots of toughness 8s, but that's where Thunderhammers will earn their keep. Cheers. Interesting. Okay, yeah, I mean, maybe I need to do a video looking at Hellblasters. I take it it's the Assault Hellblasters that you're using. I did think they looked really interesting now that they've given them an additional, what is it, Assault 3 or something. So, okay, so let's have a start. So it is a battalion. And we have 2 extra relics, so I mean, I like that already. I kind of generally... I think in my competitive list reviews recently, I basically mentioned having multiple relics. Hey Mikey, thanks for tuning in. How you doing? So, we start with the captain on the bike, who has the Gift of Foresight, the Adamantium Mantle. He is the Chapter Master. He has Iron Resolve. He has a Thunderhammer, and he is the Warlord. Iron Resolve is a poor pick here if you have Adamantium Mantle. Because Iron Resolve gives you a 6+ Feel No Pain, and Adamantium gives you a 5+ Feel No Pain, and they obviously don't stack. So, There is a couple of better options you could pick here. One, let me look at your other HQs and then we'll talk about it. So the Chaplain has Icon of the Angel, the Jump Pack, the Mantra of Strength. The Librarian Dreadnought has Quickening, Shields of Sanguinius, Wings of Sanguinius, and he is the Chief Librarian. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. What I would do here would be consider either... I feel like this captain on the bike, the chapter master, he's got the Thunderhammer, right? And he's going to be engaged in the biggest heavy hitting targets the enemy can have. So consider Champion of Humanity, because I think Champion of Humanity is going to be generally very strong on him. So Champion of Humanity is each time this warlord fights, if there's an engagement range of enemy characters, then until the fight is resolved, add 1 to the warlock's attacks. So basically, I mean, that's just giving you the +1, like, Shock Assault, but it doesn't say that, like, it doesn't stack with Shock Assault or Savage Echo. So basically, if you're fighting in against another character, you get an additional attack, and then each time this warlord makes an attack against characters, add 1 to the hit roll and wound roll. And again, the wound roll part wouldn't help us, but the attack roll would, especially if you're using that Thunderhammer, which is -1 to hit. So that would negate the -1 to hit. So if you do Champion of Humanity, Gift of Foresight, and Adamantium Mantle from your Angel's Exemplar, that would be stronger. Imperium Sword may also be an option here, in that whenever you charge or heroically intervene, you get that +1 attack, and you also get +1 strength. The +1 strength makes your Thunderhammer strength 9, with your +1 from Red Thirst means that you're pretty much going to wound anything strength toughness 8 or less on 2s, which is going to be very strong, especially if you have the Gift of Foresight to reroll 1 hit, 1 wound. So I feel like the Iron Resolve is a low value pick in that you're just getting 1 wound out of it. But that's my opinion. And then I would also maybe consider like a hero of the chapter here. Maybe on the Librarian Dreadnought. Again, he could take either of the Warlord traits we just talked about. I actually think Champion of Humanity is mega good on the Librarian Dreadnought, right? The Librarian Dreadnought can get 10 attacks with Quickening. The big weakness he has is he has that WS of 3. If you did take the Champion of Humanity, if he fights in against enemy characters, then it makes his WS 2 essentially. So the Librarian Dreadnought with 10 attacks hitting on 2s, his fist is like strength 12, with a +1 to wound. So you're going to wound you're going to hit enemy characters on 2s, you're going to wound them on 2s, and you've got 10 attacks, and you've got that flat 3 damage, right? I generally think that is a way to make the Librarian Dreadnought a lot better, and I actually think Iron Resolve would be better on your Librarian Dreadnought as well if you prefer that, because that makes him 9 wounds and gives him a feel no pain against essentially mortal wounds, and also he does only have that 3+ save and no invulnerable save, so having the ability to have a 6+ shrug can be the difference between him living and dying, right? So generally these picks are good, but I feel like you definitely can spend 1 more CP at the beginning of the battle and start the battle with 9. That wouldn't be a problem at all to do some sort of hero of the chapter, and maybe maybe they've got a reason that you really want him to be super survivable with 1 more wound, but actually look at do you know what? You need to look at the actual the one you get when you become Chapter Master, the Angel's Artifice Relic, because that relic gives you your 2+ save and 1 more wound and 1 more toughness. So you'd be better taking the Angel's Artifice and the Adamantium Mantle and the Gift of Foresight. You could do all that. And that actually gives you a better save because you'd have the 2-up save. It actually gives you 1 more toughness, and you don't actually lose your 6+ feel no pain because the Adamantium Mantle is giving you a 5+ feel no pain. So swap out Iron Resolve for Angel's Artifice and you'll be 10% tougher, and you haven't actually lost nothing, and you could then put the Iron Resolve on the Librarian Dreadnought or something like that, Northern. I hope that all makes sense. Okay. Troop-wise, Assault Intercessors, Infiltrator Squads, Intercessor Squads. This is all, fairly standard, fairly decent. We have the Infiltrator Squad, I guess, to hold the backfield, and we I think you said you push forward with the assault infiltrators, and I guess you probably keep the intercessors back a bit to hold back as well. Okay. Death Company. So this looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-man with a Thunderhammer and jump packs. So that's cool. Another 6-man with a Thunderhammer and jump packs. This is a very optimal Death Company loadout. The 6 actually means you probably can kill into a regular squad of Marines. You can probably kill like 5 intercessors, 5 tactical Marines in one turn if you make the charge. And I know that you said you're going to drop them down in turn 3 for maximum impact, which is fine, but sometimes consider dropping them down in turn 2 into cover. You don't even need to try and charge in turn 2. Just consider dropping them down in turn 2 with the option to basically what am I trying to say? With the option to basically come in. I thought I had a picture of that which I could show you as a good example. Maybe I've archived it annoyingly. But sometimes what I'll do is I will drop down in turn 2, and I'll just drop down into cover. Basically, I'll be hidden in a position where the enemy can't get to me, they can't shoot me, and then what that means is in turn 3 I'll move my 12 inches, and then I'll guarantee myself like a much shorter charge than the 9-inch charge from arriving from deep strike. So that's something to consider, especially with these Death Company units, because to me these feel like they're great units for fighting out and taking out the backfield of the enemy. You've said coming in from deep strike, so consider that as well. Did they give Reavers turn off OBSEC? Reavers do have a stratagem, it's called Terror Troops or something, that can turn off OBSEC, but I mean it seems expensive for what it is. But that, I mean, my main problem with Reavers is that their knives don't have any AP, so they're just generally weaker than like Death Company or Assault Intercessors. Alright, we have an Ironclad Dreadnought. Dreadnought Chain Fist, 200 killer missiles, a Hurricane Bolter, Ironclad Assault Launchers, and a Melty Gun. I have not had anyone submit a list with a Ironclad Dreadnought yet, so let me just refresh my brain because I do not have an Ironclad Dreadnought. But cool. Ironclad, here we go. So the Dreadnought Chain Fist is crazy good, does flat 6 damage against vehicles, so that's pretty useful. He'll have 5 attacks. The Assault Launchers give him the way to turn off Overwatch or something like that, don't they? He is also, each time this unit makes a melee attack, if it is equipped with an Ironclad combat weapon, reroll 1. Alright, so it doesn't have that. The Assault Launchers, I've never used the stratagem, but I know there is a stratagem for them. I think it's somewhere like on page 2, here we go. Assault Launchers. Yeah, so you basically can guarantee for 1 CP you do mortal wounds when you charge, or you can basically stop the enemy firing Overwatch against it. So, interesting. Ironclad Dreadnought, Dreadnought Chain Fist, Hurricane Bolter, and the Assault Launchers. Okay. And it does have a BS and weapon skill of 3. Oh, it's got toughness 8 as well. Okay, so it's a bit of a tanky guy, right? Then we have the Sanguinary Guard, all bolt guns, axes, swords, and a couple, like 3 power fists. I think this is fine. I generally like having some power fists, just like you said. You need something to take out some armor. The toughness 8 dreads. Toughness 8 definitely makes them more survivable by a long shot. Basically almost makes them like impervious to small arms fire, which is generally going to be very handy. And then we have 3 Hellblaster squads, all with assault plasma incinerators. Let's get the Hellblasters up so we can remember what they are. Hellblasters. Assault Plasma Incinerators, yeah, so they're strength 7, but they are -4, 2 damage a pop, and each squad would get 15 shots. Alright, interesting. So again, this is cool. This is a different list than what we'd normally see. We've got 2 Death Companies that can do a lot of work. We have the Ironclad Dreadnought, we have the Sanguinary Guard, we have I guess this is about 500 points of Hellblasters, so I guess maybe if they're going to accompany the Dreadnought down the board while the Dreadnought pumps out like Wisdom of the Ancients so they can reroll all their ones, that would be pretty useful. Yeah, I mean, if the Reaver's Knives had -1 AP, they might be viable. I just hate how they have no AP on those. Greetings, Arbiters of Sanguine. How you doing? All right, so we talked a little bit how we can improve the Captain. I mentioned that the Chaplain had the Icon of the Angel. We talked a little bit how we could improve this Librarian Dreadnought. The troop choices look solid enough. The 2 throwaway or the 2 backfield hitting Death Company, the Sanguinary Guard, and then a huge amount of fire support from this Ironclad and these Assault Blasters. Alright, this is a very different list as well to what we normally see. I think it could be quite competitive. I mean, it may struggle a little bit against like a very high armored enemy list. But I mean, like we said, we do have some Thunderhammers, we do have some Power Fists, and I think for the most part the Hellblasters will do decently, right? Like if the enemy have armor with toughness 7, then you're potentially looking at like that would be 45 shots. You know, like we just did the math to work out what the rerolls would be. So if we had 45 assault shots at strength 7 and we're hitting on 77.7% chance, you know, basically you get 35 hits, then you wound on 50%, right? So you wound so you get 17.5 wounds at -4, 2 damage a pop. If the enemy does not have an invulnerable save, that's just going to do a flat 35 damage against them. The assault Hellblasters do only have a 24-inch range, but I mean, if you're within 24-inch ranges, you're able to do a flat 35 damage. That's pretty nasty. And I mean, I guess if the enemy vehicles do have invulnerable saves, like Leviathans or Contemptors, you're going to push them straight onto their invulnerable save. So even if we shot these guys against the Leviathan Dreadnought, which has a 5+ invulnerable save, and then has Duty Eternal, you're still going to do 12 wounds to him. So you're going to leave that Leviathan on 2 wounds. You just need to hit him with one other thing. Or you just, once a Leviathan's down to 2 wounds, he's profiled pretty badly, right? His weapon skill will be 5. His ballistic skill will be 5, so maybe you don't have to worry too much about it. Good evening, Mike. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Okay. Yeah, a lot to... a very different list again, but nonetheless another pretty cool list. Okay. I like your Captain and your Librarian Dreadnought a lot. I understand the Chaplain dropping in, so I mean that's strong as well. Troop choices is not bad. I would have preferred to see like one more full boss unit in here, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. And then your shooting in your Dreadnought are quite a bit different, but also quite cool. I think you could make it work. You just need to make sure you have some way to keep the rerolls for these plasma inceptors. You know, we talked a little bit in the last list about Quake bolts as well. I mean, I think there's a situation where this intercessor squad could be equipped with Quake bolts. I mean, if you talk about them sitting in the backfield holding objectives, then maybe you give them stalker bolt rifles, give the sergeant the Quake bolt, and then you have a 36-inch Quake bolt to give +1 to hit for those Death Company arriving for deep strike. That is obviously an option too. Right, so very cool list, very different list. Let's see if we can't score it. So objective holding, I think because there's just one full boss unit, and I think we normally say we need 3 full boss units to hit up on a 9. I think it's probably an 8-5. I think it's an 8-5 because you said you were going to use the other intercessors to help hold the backfield. I think the assault intercessors for me get caught a lot in no man's land. That's why I'm changing them on my list. I'm actually, maybe I can show you guys right here. I'm working on incursors myself, because the advantage of incursors I see over assault intercessors is, yes, you lose 1 attack per model, but you can start them in a concealed position, you can start them in cover, and ultimately it probably means that you won't lose models out in no man's land, right? Um, and yeah, I love the chapter master on the bike. This guy is like, I'm gonna make a video on the best characters for Blood Angels, and this guy is on that list. And I think you can make a couple of small tweaks to make him even stronger. So anti horde. Let's have a look. We've got those troop choices. The Hellblasters could just demolish any sort of hordes as well with their 45 Hellblaster shots per turn. When I say that, 45 assault plasmas per turn, in my head, I'm like, am I doing the math right? But I am, because it's assault 3 and there's 3 squads of 5. So, I mean, oops. I think we need to have like a 9 in here just for those 45 Hellblaster shots. They'd be able to absolutely demolish stuff. There'd be no at -4. Like no infantry is going to stand up against that. You're probably just deleting something pretty effectively. Against armor, you might have a little more problems, right? We got this one dreadnought, but it's a bit like the last list. If we just have the one dreadnought, then maybe it becomes a bit of a bullet magnet. It's likely it's going to be the first thing in your list to die, but is that going to be a problem if you have all these Hellblasters and the Death Company and the Sanguinary Guard, and then the crazy tanky chapter master, and you also have the Librarian Dreadnought, which we know is super tanky, and he can draw a lot of firepower as well, just because opponents know he can have 10 attacks and he can jump all over the board. Have you given the chaplain shooting litanies? No, he didn't do shooting litanies. He was probably going to have to use something like Wisdom of the Ancient on one of the 2 dreads to give the rerolls of 1s. Could give it Shield Dome. I missed something. Yeah, I mean, if you are changing the chapter master of the Artificer armor, then maybe you don't need a Storm Shield, but like with the Storm Shield, that 1-up save is pretty crazy, right? Like, I guess like it just makes him like super impervious to small arms fire, because you'll pretty much save small arms fire on 2s, and you will have toughness 6, I believe. So bolters will only wound you on 5s. So the chapter master on the bike is generally a great pick. So I guess anti vehicles monsters, I think we have to rate you down a little bit, but not much, right? Like, maybe against heavy armor at lists you're gonna have some problems, but against light armor lists, and I guess what I mean by light armor is toughness 7 and less. Toughness 7 lists this list's gonna do really well on, so I think we're gonna be fine on like an 8.5. Mobility is a little bit lower. We really just have the Sanguinary Guard and the 2 Death Company in terms of movable units. I guess our chaplain, our bike captain, and our HQ are very mobile as well. So mobility is maybe like a 7.5. But I mean, is mobility like? Would you, if you were going to change this list, would you try and make it more mobile? I don't think you need to, right? Like, I think that there's a strategy here with this Ironclad and these Hellblasters. I mean, maybe there's even a strategy in the future where like you change out the Ironclad for a Derrideo, and the Derrideo has I forget what the name of the thing. The Derrideo has a way to give every unit around it a 5+ invulnerable save. It's some sort of shield. It's not a shield dome. Someone in the chat will know. Yeah, I mean, that would synergize the Derrideo with these Hellblasters like crazy well. And I mean, sometimes synergies are super important. But yeah, I mean, I don't think the mobility is a problem in this list. Like, and I guess maybe we can guerrilla tactics or infiltrators as well if we need to do that. So, 7.5 for that. And then finally, specialization. Is it too specialized? I think it's less specialized than the last list. The Hellblasters, obviously, because they're going to cost you basically 500 points or 495 points. There is a degree of specialized firepower there. But I mean, the list should be agile enough to deal with most threats. Honestly, it's not something that I've played much. I have played Shooting Blood Angels list, but I've never fielded. I don't think I've fielded Hellblasters in the longest time. Like I maybe fielded them when they first came out at the start of eighth. Um, but I did take note when I saw that Hellblasters had been given Assault 3, and I did think that there would be a strategy there with some sort of reroll bubble slash shield bubble. I mean, technically, before we got the Blood Angels Codex, you could have almost done it with Librarian Dreadnought, right? When you could have cast Psychic Fortress. I guess you could do it with the regular Librarian now as well. Um, but yeah, so I think maybe like an 8-5 for your specialization. So there's a degree of specialization there, but I don't think it's quite as focused as the last list. And would I guess my question is, would I run this list? I think this list is definitely runnable. I think I would make that one change to two changes. I'd change up this Iron Resolve Warlord trait. I'd give the Librarian Dreadnought a Hero of the Chapter because honestly, like, there's so many games he's the MVP for me. Making him a bit stronger, I think, is super worth it. And then I'd maybe, I mean, the Toughness 8 Dread is interesting. Does anyone know the points cost of a Derridale right now and what the name of that what the name of the shield dome on the Derridale is called, or does it even still have it in ninth edition? Um, Let me see if I can find it. That's not how you spell it. That's the one. Atomic. No. Where is it? Do they still have it? I'm not seeing it. That's what it used to be called. Atomanic Papacy. But I mean, this isn't the actual book. This is just a website that has a lot of the. Good morning from Florida. Nice to see you. I love Florida, by the way. How is the weather there today? Because the weather here in Scotland is cold and miserable as always. It was snowing earlier when I went for a walk. Yeah, I mean, I don't actually know. I feel like the Wapedia, yes, it's a crazy. I don't know how Games Workshop haven't shut down that site, honestly. Let me see. I've got scans of a bunch of the pages. One second. Yeah, it's amazing. You just wapedia.ru, and when you go to it, you can just basically hit ninth edition. It's not always 100% up to date, but like if you're thinking of buying stuff and you don't know the points cost or whatever, then I'd recommend using it. Like I said, it's not always 100% up to date, but it's generally pretty decent. Okay, I don't think the Derrodale gets that bubble of shields anymore. Maybe they removed it in 8th edition and I didn't realise that yet. Yeah, it has the automatic shielding, but it used to be able to get some sort of. Do you know what? If we go into the 8th edition of here, we'll see it. So in 8th edition, the Derrodale had a rule. I guess it was this thing where it was like a unit. No, here it is. If equipped with automatic PVs, all chapter members' units that are wholly within 6 of the relic Derrodale gain a 5+ invulnerable save. This invulnerable save does not stack with or improve existing invulnerable phases, and it costs 35 points. So your Derrodale was like 120, and then you paid. Obviously, you paid for some weapons, and then you paid 35. But it looks like it's gone in 9th edition. Okay, so I was thinking a great tactic would be your Hellblaster idea with some sort of way to give them all an invulnerable save. I mean, you can still do it, I suppose, with a Librarian, but with the Derrodale, it was just an invulnerable save that was always on, right? It's sunny over here, Commander. Yeah, it's always sunny. Minus 42 degrees centigrade. Where the hell are you, Northern? Wow. I thought it was like minus there's -4 or something today, and I thought that was cold. -42. I do not know if how I couldn't handle that. Do you have to like be careful how long you go outside for if it's that cold? I mean, wow, that's crazy. Um, all right, Northern. I hope that was helpful. And yeah, I mean, I think a few small tweaks to your warlords makes that list quite a bit stronger. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's. I would like to play a list like that. I think if I was going to do it, I would think about, yeah, just making sure you're. I'd almost maybe try and hold the middle of the board with all those assault plasma guys, and just make sure your reroll ones is available. Uh, Maybe even Shield of Sanguinius onto the Ironclad Dreadnought at the beginning of the game, so that like he can't be brought down, he's alive, and you hold the middle of the center, and you have like a ton of plasma fire. I think that'd be pretty cool. Um, okay, I'm glad it was helpful. Thank you, and yeah, appreciate. Um, I was actually thinking of doing a video in the near future of the best captains that Blood Angels can have. Basically, the captain on the bike like this, or the chapter master on the bike like this. So I might actually ask. I haven't painted mine yet, or I have. I've painted the base colors on it. So I might actually ask you guys to share me some of the photos of your guys' painted, so I could use it for a thumbnail for a future video. So that might be coming up in the near future. Yeah, maybe it is a bit of Dark Angels in disguise with all those plasmas. All right, let's get on to the next list. And thank you for the submission today. That was pretty cool. Interesting list. All right, next up is Ian. And let me just change the header. Number 3. Oh, Ian. Right. Greetings, Blood Angels Commander. Just hoping I might add yet another list for review. I understand you have a pretty good backlog. Yeah, unfortunately, brother. And that is a very good sign. Lots of people, including myself, are looking for pointers. Due to the current world we live in, I got talking to a friend and he convinced me it wasn't much convincing to get into 40k. I've recently started building Blood Angels. Maybe made some less than ideal choices for models, but I'd prefer to try and use them. I'm in a very friendly meta, just learning the game. Right now I'm trying to work a 2,000 point list, starting off with the combat patrol box and a couple other kits, trying to do this without having too many paychecks go to GW. We all have too many paychecks go to GW, brother. That is how this hobby works. And nice to see you in the chat as well. If you have any questions while we're talking over your list, please just fire them into the chat and we can have a look at them. So with regards to the list, Smashland on a bike, Sanguinary Guard are pushing a flank and going after high value scary targets. Death Company push up the other flank to clear a screen or two. Aggressors foot slogging on the same flank, ideally to provide fire support to midboard if you need. In the Impulsor is Librarian, and Assault Intercessors push up into the middle of the board. Assault Terminators Deep Strike midboard to provide some durability and or countercharge. Infiltrators back in deployment zone for deep strike denial. One squad of intercessors on home field and the other for screening for the Redemptor. Redemptor hangs back at first, providing some longish anti-tank firepower. Sanguinary is there to control the flow of combat, but stopping potential nasty charge against a unit I need. What are your thoughts on running captains with the Death Company and masking? As I have Indomitus captain painting up his Death Company, I did run him against Necron Listener 1k points, and he made a right mess of a few Scorpic destroyers. Okay, I guess that's a lot, and I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see if I remember all that as we move through the list. Right, so Warlord Primaris Chaplain on a bike. He is the Master of Sanctity. He is the Benediction of Fury, which I love because it does a ton of damage. He is the Wise Orator. He is Imperium Sword. You can't take Imperium Sword by using Angel's Exemplar, because Angel's Exemplar lets you pick a second Warlord trait, but only from the Blood Angels Codex. So a little bit of a mistake here. I mean, there is still good Warlord traits you can take from the Blood Angels Codex, Ian. You can take Gift of Foresight is probably one I'd recommend, in that you reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, and 1 save every turn. Obviously, this guy is pretty tanky, and he has that 4+ invulnerable save, so getting a free reroll on his 4+ save every turn is pretty good. You have taken Mantra of Strength with Canonical Hate, which make a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, Angel's Exemplar, I'm pretty sure it does state you have to take one from the Blood Angels Codex for your... You could take your first Warlord trait from the Space Marine Codex, but because you've already taken the Master of Sanctity from the Space Marine Codex, I believe you have to take this Angel's Exemplar one from the Blood Angels Codex. And then we have a Chief Librarian who has Null Zone, Psychic Fortress, Veil of Time, and Blood Boil. So we've taken the Artificer Armor, and we've taken Tomb of Malachor to get that one power from the Blood Angels Codex. And then we've also taken Rites of War, so we're granting OBSEC around this Primaris Librarian for 6 inches. So my question about Blood Boil actually is why. Let me have a look at Blood Boil here. Like, I feel like there's better power options. Blood Boil. Warp charge of 6. Enemy within 18 inches. Roll 2d6. If the toughness is more than the highest... If the total is more than the highest toughness of the characteristics in the model, the unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If the total is more than double, it suffers 3 mortal wounds. Wouldn't you be much better off like taking something like Wings of Sanguinius to get this guy exactly where he needs to be on the battlefield, right? I don't know if I particularly... I mean, 3 mortal wounds is fine, I guess. I mean, maybe if you're playing against Necrons and the enemy have Catans and you need a reliable way to do mortal wounds, then Blood Boil isn't bad. But for me, I mean, that's so situational, right? Like, it's only one army that has that stupid rule where you can only do 3 damage per phase, and against every other chapter or faction, you're going to be better off probably having the Wings of Sanguinius, just so you can deliver this Chief Librarian exactly where you need him to be on the board, and then Null Zone to just remove invulnerable saves, right? That's going to do so much more work than like D3 mortal wounds. And I guess like against like tough enemies like Catan, like how many... I don't even know the toughness of a Catan off the top of my head, but I'm assuming it's like 7 or 8. So rolling more than 7 or 8 on 2d6 is, you know, like it's not even like a... So you have to roll more than 6 to even cast the power. So like it's like, let's just have a look at it. So you need to roll at least 6 to cast your power. So that can't be right. Oh, it's still doing 3d6. Hold on. So you need to... So you have a 72% chance of the psychic power going off, and then like if you then you need to basically have a 40% chance to roll over their toughness. So like 1 times 0.7 times 0.4. So really, it's like a 20. It's not even a 30% chance to do like D3 mortal wounds. I'm not sure the Blood Boil. I mean, it's okay. I mean, some people in chat are saying it's okay as well. But I mean, overall, I guess it just kind of feels a little strange. Like if I had to take a power from the Blood Angels book, I think it would be Unleash Rage or Wings of Sanguinius, like 100%. Like I feel like they are definitely... Oh, Johan Torres, thank you very much. The brother from Florida joining the ranks. Appreciate that, dude. Thank you very much. As a new member, there are some member-exclusive stuff and content you can get over on the community tab, and if you need anything, then please just reach out to me in those posts and I will help you out. Yeah, the Blood Boil is okay, and I mean, maybe it's situational, but yeah, and Reziel's saying you could use it in conjunction with Smite, and I mean, it is perfectly decent, but if you think about this, right, like, if you're running a big squad of, let's say, like, you've got 9 Sangre Guard here, right? So they're getting 45 attacks per turn. if you're running, oh shit, oops, I started typing in this document. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to type calculator. I want to bring up the calculator. You know, you have 45 attacks. The chances of you getting 6s when you attack is, you know, a 6, right? So basically, like, if you did Unleash Rage, you give your Sanguinary Guard 7.5 more attacks on average. And the interesting thing about Unleash Rage is it actually lasts until the next Psychic phase, which means that you get 7.5 more attacks in your turn, and you get 7.5 more attacks in the enemy's turn. So, you know, like, you're comparing D3 Mortal Wounds against 15 attacks from Sanguinary Guard, right? Like, to me, the comparison is not great, but I mean, I'm just pointing stuff out, right? I'm playing at the, or I'm trying to be super competitive, I guess. And the Sanguinor, I haven't actually ran the Sanguinor in 9th edition. I ran him all the time in 8th edition. He was always, like, he was more go-to for me than Dante. Like, I guess, like, just, he didn't quite, you know, I know he's got the Miraculous Savior, and I guess that would be good with, like, the Angel Sacrifice stratagem. He does have a very decent sword, and I guess they added the fact that his sword does mortal wounds, and he has, like, 5 or... I guess he has 6 attacks normally, 7 attacks with Savage Echoes. So, the Sanguinor is decent. I've got no problem with the Sanguinor. I do think he's quite expensive, though, for 150 points. Like, maybe we could make a captain... a Death Company captain on the bike, and the one that I made was like Death Company captain on the bike with 10 attacks with the Teeth of Terra. You can even have 11 attacks. So, and he's 20 points cheaper, and he's probably a little bit more survivable because he has the same number of he has 1 more toughness, 1 more wound, and he has a feel no pain. But I mean, you could do the same with just a regular Death Company captain, but I think the Sanguinor's okay if you're planning to use him to heroically intervene and then fight back. I mean, I guess that's very decent as well. All I want is the Math Hammer video with my Lightning Claw shield, boys. Jonathan, I wrote that down last week. I will try. Do you know what? I'll try and make that the video that I do for Tuesday. I promise you. I hadn't thought about what Tuesday's video would be yet, so maybe we'll do that if there's time. We'll see what it looks like. All right. For elites, we have the 9 Sanguinary Guard, 5 axes, 5 swords. 5 axes, 4 swords. I think this is absolutely fine. I generally like to have 1 Infernal Pistol in a Sanguinary Guard, but I mean, I'm okay with not having it and just having those 9 bolt guns. I think that's okay as well. 5 Assault Terminators, 3 Thunderhammers, 2 Lightning Claws. It makes sense. The only thing I would say about this is just maybe make sure that the Sergeant is one of the ones with Thunderhammer, because I feel like getting that +1 attack on the Sergeant with the Thunderhammer is more valuable than having +1 attack with a Lightning Claw on the Sergeant. So, I mean, just keep in mind that, I guess, when you're making your list. We've got the Death Company with jump packs. I guess that's based on the points you've said here. It's 5 man with 5 chainswords, 25 points per model for Death Company with jump packs. Aggressors ×3 with the Bolt Storm gauntlets and the grenade launchers. Yeah, I mean, aggressors are fine enough, and they are generally very powerful in close combat. Good sturdy unit that can hold the middle of the board, have stratagems to make them more survivable as well. And then the Redemptor Dreadnought. And you didn't mention if you're replacing the Heavy Flamer with the Onslaught Cannon. If you can, I would recommend doing that as well. The Heavy Flamer is fine, but like, there's so many turns in the game you just won't get to fire it because it's just 12 inches as opposed to the Onslaught Cannon, which is 24 inches. Another thing that I was saying with that is, like, some people might argue, well, the Heavy Flamer is good for if you get charged. I'm not sure many things want to charge the Redemptor Dreadnought in the fact that it has that Power Fist that does D3 plus 3 every turn. So, and I mean, the Redemptor gets like 5 attacks, I guess, if he's charged. So 5 attacks, potentially doing 30 damage back. Like, are people charging the Redemptor Dreadnought? My experience is not that often, I guess. Then we have an Impulsor with a Shield Dome and Fragstorm launchers. I generally don't spend points on weapons on impulsors. I find that again they're very much bullet magnets, and their weapons don't do that much for the point cost. You'd be better like adding like a weapon to one of your troop squads, like a power fist or a power sword or something. I feel like you get more value than the frag storm launchers. But I mean, if you've modelled it like that, then that's fine. Let me think. I've only run an impulsor like 2 times. I guess like I just always find out that I end up leaning towards jump pack units over the transports. Impulsor. It is equipped with 2 storm bolters. Oh right, and you replace the storm bolters with a frag storm. Is that free? I mean, if it's free, then it's fine, I guess. Oh yeah, it's free. Okay, so there's no actual point spent there. I mean, frag storm bolters. I think on average your storm bolter. Oh yeah, I guess because you're a vehicle on the dreadnought, storm bolters will do more damage than the frag storm, but they get the bolter discipline rapid fire rule. So, I guess frag storm grenade launchers is fine. Troops 5 assault intercessors with the bolt pistols and chain swords, 5 intercessors with the stalkers, another 5 stalkers, and then 2 infiltrators with the marksmen. So I think this is fine, but good evening, Krychek. How you doing? Yeah, frag storms are built into the cost. You're correct there. I feel like you probably have too many troops, right? And I mean, you mentioned that you are new, and then maybe you are just collecting stuff. Hey, Gitley, I didn't see you come in today. How are you? There was a wide calls to scrap faction secondaries in competitive play. I mean, I guess that's maybe a good point because faction secondaries, maybe some of them are easier for other factions. I mean, that kind of sucks, I guess. Like if Blood Angels just got those new faction secondaries and you're not allowed them anymore. But I mean, I guess we'll see. Okay. Yeah, I feel like you've maybe got too many troop choices. 2 squads of infiltrators and like 1 other troop choice. They're generally going to be able, like, infiltrators are very much designed to screen the backfield. They're very, very good at preventing deep strikes. And yeah, I mean, like if it was me, let me think about this for a minute. If I had to buy something next to add to the list that you have here, then what would I buy? If you watch from the beginning of the video, we talked a lot about how Whirlwind could be very good right now. That would generally be an option, and then maybe we could drop like 1 squad of troops, pick up a Whirlwind, and then maybe get a Thunderhammer into that Death Company. I do think that Death Company would work much better with 1 guy with a Thunderhammer, and you know, I guess the reason to have that 1 Thunderhammer is sometimes on the board you can never determine exactly what you're ending up going to fight against, right? So if you end up against a character or something that's quite strong and he's killing your Death Company, at least if you have 1 Thunderhammer in there, you can smash him in the face with that and potentially take him out. So, you know, I guess Stalker bolt rifles as well are talking about holding. I mean, they feel like they're more about holding backfield objectives. So yeah, maybe lose a squad of intercessors, potentially pick up a Whirlwind, or we could pick up, you know, like Eradicators, some sort of heavy fire support at the moment, and maybe something that you're lacking here. I mean, you could probably lose 2 of these troop squad choices. And also, maybe you could, or maybe lose 2 troop choices, pick up an Apothecary, and pick up a Whirlwind, because the Apothecary would give you the ability, like, Aggressors is a good example, right? They're 45 points a model. Your Assault Terminators, I think the Thunderhammer guys are 43 points a model. You talk about holding the middle of the battlefield with these guys. If you pick up an Apothecary, you can potentially give the Apothecary the Selfless Healer trait, and then you could you can bring a 45 point model back to life every turn. And I've literally won games doing that with Assault Terminators because they're so expensive and they're so difficult to kill, and you just bring one back every turn. And like the guy I was playing against was like, "This is broken." And I was like, "That's the rules." You know, it's strong for sure. You know, like if you think about over the course of a game, 5 turns, you can literally put 200 points of models back on the board. or more, I guess. Especially when you've got these really expensive 45-point models. Um, I mean, just some examples of maybe how you could improve this list a little bit from where it is. But let's go ahead and score, and hopefully I've given you some ideas on how how this could be pretty good. So I mean, objective securing on this list is probably like 9-5 because you do have 5 troop choices. The other list that had the 5 infiltrators, we scored a little bit higher, but or maybe 9-2-5. Let's say something like that. But 5 troop choices, and I guess 1 troop choice in an impulsor that can be used to contest enemy objectives. I do have a sang priest. Well, I was thinking keep the sanguiner, right? Like, and actually just put like a regular apothecary because there's just elites, right? And you have room for 1 more elite, so you could drop 1 squad of guys and take like just an apothecary. Obviously, he doesn't have the blood chalice, but he can still heal and he can still resurrect. I mean, the only thing you can't do is put your guys into assault doctor and savage echoes, but aggressors and terminators coming down in the middle of the board, they're unlikely to do too much melee combat before turn 3 anyway. So is that a huge option? I would argue maybe not. The whirlwind has worked wonders for me. With my Overwatch means I can charge with impunity. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is the strength of the whirlwind right now, Jonathan. Everybody is talking just how good that stratagem is. There are some significant names getting behind it, though. I believe at least one of them big. Yeah, I mean, I can see them making faction secondaries like not available in tournament play. Maybe I need to start thinking about that because I guess that changes some of the strategy a little bit for Blood Angels. Speed and mobility is very important to Blood Angels' army. 3 troops and 1 other backfield holder like a whirlwind or a thunderfire or a quad mortar launcher or eliminators is my way of thinking at the moment. Yeah, I mean, you can start like one of your infiltrator squads on that backfield objective, right? And as the battle progresses and you're feeling confident, then you can get moving forward. And I actually missed your question about new points video coming soon, Smithy. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by new points video, so let me know, and I'll try and catch it. Sorry, I missed that. Okay. Anti-infantry horde. So I mean, we have a decent amount of bolter fire here. The aggressors have a decent amount of bolter fire. So it's probably, and I mean, I guess we could use assault intercessors to clear out some hordes and stuff like that. I think it's okay. I don't think it's the strongest list I've seen. And I guess maybe there's going to be a little bit of problems with the fact that there isn't so much fire support. But maybe that's for the next scoring. So anti-infantry horde, we're probably going to go for an 8.5. Anti-vehicle monster. So the Sanguinary Guard and you will do decent, and your assault terminators and aggressors will do decent. I guess the challenge will be getting those into the right places. I'd really like to see a Thunderhammer on this Death Company. I think the squad's kind of neutered a little bit without it. I guess I generally think that if you're going to run, and maybe in some sense this assault intercessor squad as well, if you're going to run a squad that's going to be aggressive and really trying to kill things, I think you need one special weapon in there, and be it a Thunderhammer, be it a Power Fist, just something so that like at some point on the battlefield something will happen that you're not wanting to happen. For example, like I said, a character or a dreadnought will charge your Death Company. If your Death Company get charged with a dreadnought and they've only got chain swords, they're either going to get stuck in combat with that dreadnought for way too long, or they're going to get killed by it. And that's why, for like really forward-facing heavy units, I always like to have something in there that will make people either consider their actions or make them be able to have to pay for them. So, anti-vehicle monster is a little bit lower, I think, just because the Terminators and the Aggressors will probably do well, but I think you're going to have a little bit of problem getting them in. Maybe that becomes a little bit easier if there's a medic there, keeping them healthy and resurrecting them. That could generally be quite annoying for opponents. I think 125 or 135 is right for the Whirlwind at the moment. But I mean, I think it is a solid base for a list. Like, if you're new to the faction, then I think you could probably do decently with this list. So don't be too down on the score if it's not quite as high as the other lists we've looked at today. I think it's a great starting point, and you've probably got options, like you said, without giving Games Workshop your whole paycheck. You probably only need to spend another $50 or $75, and you could have this list fairly strong. But I think you said you were just playing friendly, so even playing friendly, it would be very strong. Mobility wise, a bit less, I guess. Less jump packs than normal, but I mean, we do have deep striking Terminators, so maybe that makes up a little bit for it. So maybe like a 7.5. And then specialization, I actually don't think this list is specialized at all, really. It's kind of nicely rounded. I think that you do want something that really packs a punch in range, though, right? Like, I guess that's why everybody's running 3 Eradicators, just because they're very good at just dishing out, enough damage to make enemy armor or things question what they're doing, and or the Whirlwind to really disable those enemy fighting, which is generally very strong as well. So a few small tweaks you could make here, and I think for specialization we'll go with like a 7.5 as well again. So I think it's a great start, brother. And I mean, welcome to Blood Angels, and thanks for tuning into the channel. It means a lot, and hopefully we can put you in the right direction to just bring this list up a little notch. And I mean, I guess the only other thing was to just fix that Imperium sword thing. So I hope that was useful, Ian. And I think we did end up with a decent score, about 40 out of 50. So by all means, it's a solid enough list. There's no huge question marks, or there's no huge problems that I see with it. So okay, moving on to list number 4. Ollie Simmons. Alright, hey all, thanks Blood Angels Commander for the hard work you're putting into the channel. I'm sure there's a bit of a backlog on list reviews now, but hopefully we can put this into the queue. The plan with this list is to try and keep it versatile as possible, with plenty of the right buffs in the right places wherever I need them. Kind of using a personal mashup of yours and Stephen Box's Blood Angels guidance, but I disagree with him slightly in that getting involved in all these phases of the game is important. Incursors cover midfield objectives straight the way, having Forlorn Fury the Death Company forward before the game to provide an early jump on the objectives, reinforcement with buffs from the chaplain keeping them up to them with on the bike. Sanguinary Guard can provide deterrent or remain in reserve with support from the Sanguinary Priest. Backfield Daka from Eradicators and Redemptor with the possibility of 2 Dreads to pop Fury of the Ancient, one up front in the Librarian's case, or at the back with the Redemptor. The ATV provides mobile melta support and a further deterrent that must be dealt with. This idea is to provide a fair bit of target saturation for my enemy also. Many thanks from Ollie. Okay, cool. Thank you for the help. Got some things. Oh, Ian, you're very welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. No, it's fine, Ollie. Thanks. I like it when people put in a bit of writing about the list. It makes things easier to diagnose. All right, so we're starting with a battalion detachment, and we have 1 extra relic, and we have a Librarian Dreadnought with Quickening, Unleash Rage, Wings of Sanguinius. He is the Chief Librarian. He is Psychic Mastery, so he gets +1 to all his Psychic tests, and he is a hero of the chapter. I like that a lot, actually. Psychic Mastery actually has a lot of value right now. I think it gives you about 10% more chance to cast your powers, so I like it. We have the Primarch Chaplain on the bike, who has the Litany of Faith, the Canticle of Hate, Master of Sanctity, Litany of Hate. He is also the hero of the Chapter, and he is the Vox Spiritum. The Vox Spiritum is the thing that gives your auras +3 inches. I haven't actually used that myself. I don't know why I've not used it myself. But let me just check. Adds 3 inches to the bearer's aura. Alright, cool. So the Chaplain auras are 9 inches. And then I guess we've got the Sanguinary Priest, who is the Artisan of War, the Artificer Armor. He is the Chief Apothecary. He is Icon of the Angel. He is the Selfless Healer. Okay, yeah, so this makes a lot of sense. So you basically used Angel's Exemplar to give him the Artisan of War, Artificer Armor. Cool. And he is Icon of the Angel for the reroll charges, and he also has healing. Right. And then for troops, 3 squads of Incursors, nice and simple. We know Phobos units are generally the best, and 3 squads of Incursors do see a lot of play at high level. So yeah, I know what you meant by Wisdom of the Ancient. All right. For the Death Company, this is a big squad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with chainswords, 6 with chainswords, and 4 thunderhammers. I'm wondering if this would be better as 2 squads, but I guess we'll see how many elites we have in your army. We have a Redemptor with the Fragstorm grenade launchers, the rocket pods, the macro plasma, and the onslaught cannon. The Fragstorms are fine, but I think the Stormbolters will do slightly more damage because of Bolter Discipline. I mean, I guess the Fragstorms are probably assault, but I mean, I don't think that makes a huge difference. It's so minor though, right? The damage that these things do is generally very nothing. And then Sanguinary Guard, it looks like 8-man squads, 2, 4, 6, 8, 1 pistol, 3 power fists in each squad, a lot of swords and the odd axe. A good mix here. I generally think Sanguinary Guard with a mix is generally very strong. Swords and axes are 6, it's potato, and power fists are always good for when you run into a high toughness enemy target. Why is Dante better than a jump chapter master with the Angel's Artifice? He gains 1 CP and is -1 to hit, and he is Dante, enough said. Dante isn't better unless you like the lore, is my answer to that. I mean, I just think that, like you said, with Angel's Artifice, you've got that +1 toughness, and you've got that +1 wound, and you can still take 2 other warlord traits on him. So I mean, I guess he costs more CP than Dante, but he's a lot more survivable. I find the -1 on Dante is actually not that amazing, right? Because like quite often the way that Dante dies is in like close combat against like people that have like thunder hammers or power fists, and at that point the -1 makes no difference, right? Like, because they are already -1 to hit, it doesn't stack. So quite often the -1 to hit Dante, I don't know, maybe it's 50-50. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's just not helpful. Do you know what? I love Dante and I love the books, and they need to put him through the Rubicon, and they need to he needs to come out the other side of the Rubicon having merged with Sanguinius. He needs a new friggin' model. He needs to have grown wings, right? Like something has gone wrong. They fed him. He was going to die during the Rubicon, so they fed him the blood that was left in the Red Grail, and he grows some wings, and he comes out as some sort of absolute badass. That's what we need from Dante. And then that would make him super competitive on the board. We have the Invader ATV, and then we have the Eradicators. All right, so this is a pretty good list. Like, this is, I was going to say this is a bit like you said, it's a bit like Stephen Box's list in that we have these 2 big Sanguinary Guard, and we also have a big massive Death Company that can Forlorn Fury. We've added a Redemptor, we've added an ATV, and we've added some Eradicators, and Eradicators and the Redemptor would synergize really nicely with the Wisdom of the Ancient. The Invader ATV can be reserved for like less than 1 CP and can just come on a tactical multi-melta and I guess a bunch of bolter shots wherever you need it. And then Incursors, we know that they're generally very good, can deploy in concealed positions, and I think all 3 HQ choices are some of our strongest HQ choices. We're kind of in a difficult spot right now for HQ choices, in that we've got so many good HQ choices. In the last edition, we used to run 2 battalions, and it was dead easy to, like you had to run the 2 battalions and you filled it up with scouts. Yeah, some sort of Demi Primarch would really get me fielding Dante again, Adam, you're right. And that 9-inch on the auras is also subtle, but it can make a big difference tactically. An 18-inch diameter bubble is huge. Yeah, I mean that is pretty huge. And um, I mean, Canticle of Hate is so strong, right? Like if you're on point with your consolidations and your pile-ins, Canticle of Hate can be like one of the best litanies in the entire game. And I love the litanies casting on twos. I don't like using named characters as it makes me sad when they die. I know I'm a bit rubbish like that. I don't get sad when they die. I just get annoyed when the generic characters with no name that you can make up yourself are more survivable or do more damage than the name characters. That's what annoys me. Um, all right, Ollie. Interesting and pretty solid list. I mean, it's you've got no way to deny Overwatch in this list, which I think is maybe going to hurt Blood Angels coming forward into ninth edition, as everybody else starts getting their codexes and they have rules and things to make people fight last. You also have no you have no way to make your units fight first either. So you could lose a little bit, could lose out a little bit in the fact that there's no way to deal with Overwatch and there's no way to fight first. And I mean, in some ways it's tricky, right? Because Librarian Dreadnought does do so much damage, but a utility Librarian can be really useful for us. I like both of them, and it's a difficult choice. And I mean, it's impossible to mark you down based on your choice for that, because the only other option I can see right now is to run 2 patrol detachments, but then that limits you, and you would only get 4 elites. So, I mean, your list actually only does have 4 elites. So maybe this list could actually be split into 2 patrol detachments. I guess you would have to drop something to have enough points to bring another character, but I mean, you could potentially do that if that's something that you really felt like, hey, you know, that Death Company character on the bike that we talked about for 130 points with 10 attacks with the Teeth of Terra, I really want to fit him in. You could possibly do that or something like that. But yeah, I mean, we're in a difficult position with all our HQs being so good. But I like, you know, the Phobos units are great in that they give you a lot of board control. The Forlorn Fury and the 10-man Death Company forward. The, I guess if the Chaplain advances, you know, like, so he basically moves 20 inches, then you can make sure that those Death Company have their rerolls of 1s. I guess the Sanguinary Priest could probably advance as well. I don't think he would be able to get in range. Maybe if you daisy chained a guy back, he would be able to be in range. Actually, I forget when you. I have never actually used the Sanguinary Priest's buff in a battle yet, because I was one of the people that was in the camps that I didn't know if it was going to actually if it was going to actually give the Assault Doctrine. So I didn't use it just to be safe in case the rules changed. So actually you do that at the start of your command phase, right? So I guess you probably couldn't daisy chain back to him for the Blood Chalice ability. Okay, I did another version of the list with a utility librarian instead of a dread, and that ATV taken out for another Eradicator squad. Mainly every unit in this list has to be dealt with. X3M Burn. Hello, thank you for subscribing. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. RLAC, thank you for subscribing. The channel's been blowing up the last few days, and it's like when one person subscribes, it just starts coming in. Here we go. Did this last night as well. Jim, thank you. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I was wondering if there was a way, thank you, Daniel, if there was a way to have, like, Quake Bolts on somebody here, so that we could get Quake Bolts. Jolly, thank you. So we could get that +1 to hit, maybe, from the Quake Bolts. That would be an option. And you said 1 additional relic. I'm trying to see what that additional relic was. You had the Artificer armor and your Warlord, and then your additional relic was the Vox. Okay. Cool. You don't need to daisy chain. You nominate a unit within 6 to be an assault doctor and then move forward and fight. Yeah, the only reason I was thinking to daisy chain was because he said he was going to Forlorn Fury that 10-man Death Company forward. Uh, Now it's Super Sunday subs, yeah. So if the Death Company did Forlorn Fury, they'd probably be out with the range of the Sanguinary Priest, unless, of course, like you daisy chain one back to be within 6 inches at the start of your command phase, right? So you could do that to make that happen. So I mean, that's how Stephen when Vanguard Tactics was running it, and I actually prefer this list to Stephen's because I like, if you watch my channel, you know I like having some shooting in there. I think some tactical multi-meltas coming in, your Eradicators, your Dreadnought. I just think I think I play against too many enemies that are primarily shooting, and if you just have to get across the board and weather turn after turn of shooting, it can be an issue, right? So just having some way to return fire, I always put a bit of value on them that way. You can then use the stratagem to put them in the Assault Doctrine instead. What stratagem are we talking about here? Mark, sorry. I know what you're talking about. It's tactical. It's the one for 2 CP that makes every doctor inactive. Yeah, I mean you could do that as well. I mean it is 2 CP, but maybe it would be worth it for a Death Company on a turn 1 charge. Okay, so let's score up this list. And if you are enjoying today's stream, please hit that like button. It does generally actually help me out a lot. Okay, so I think we said like 3 full boss units gives us a 9 for troop holding. I think it gives us good flexibility, and I generally find the full boss units very survivable. Adaptive strategy, thank you, that's the one. Okay, anti-horde infantry. I mean, we've got a lot of Sanguinary Guard bolters, and they can definitely do some work against that. And I guess we've got 3 Incursor squads that can do some work. Death Company Chainswords can do some work, but it's not really their primary option. So I think against Horde lists, maybe this is slightly lower. But I mean, I think for the most part, it's probably okay. It's just not going to be super efficient at killing Hordes. Against monsters and vehicles, I think this is where this list is probably going to come in to a much better state. All these, 16 Sanguinary Guard, bunch of swords, axes, power fists. They all going to have +1 to hit because they're going to be near their warlord. There's ways to get full rerolls with the Litany of Hate, I guess, in a big, massive 9-inch bubble. And also the Death Company coming in with 4 Thunderhammers. That's more Thunderhammers than I run. That's probably very strong. We also have those Eradicators, that Tactical Invader. I like this a lot. I think for anti-vehicle monster, you're going to do really well. I think you may have some problems against Death Guard, because you've got no way to fight first or fight last. But I mean, like, as a general list, this is very good. You just may get punished by some of the new Death Guard rules, and or you may get punished against like a Dreadnought heavy list, because Dreadnought heavy lists, 2 damage weapons are going to be very weak against them. So I mean, I guess like it hurts your Sanguinary Guard a bit, but I mean you do have enough Thunderhammers here hopefully to make up for that. So, and there is multi-melta shots, obviously they do more than 2 damage. So I think for the most part I'm going to say your anti-vehicle monster is generally very strong, 9, and your mobility again is generally really strong, right? All your HQ are mobile. The Incursors with guerrilla tactics are obviously very mobile. Death Company, Sanguinary Guard, Bikers. The only thing that's really not mobile are Eradicators and Redemptors, but I mean, that's generally fine, I think. I mean, you need to have some of those sort of things in your list. And then specialization. I mean, like this is very much like a tournament list. Like I'd probably be quite happy to play this list myself. I mean, like if I was going to play it right now, where my headspace is right now is, I would probably have less Death Company and slightly less Sanguinary Guard. Maybe not have the Invader ATV, have the Whirlwind, and then maybe I would have the Chapter Master on the bike over the Primaris Chaplain on a bike. I think the Chapter Master is maybe a little bit stronger. Maybe I need to compare them actually, but yeah, I do like the Chapter Master a lot because I like the fact that you can give that command aura to a unit and then split off from the unit. I think that's very strong as well. So but I mean, I guess your chaplain on the bike has the Litany of Faith, so you can, have a massive bubble of Feel No Pain against mortal wounds, which would be generally very good against some lists, right? Like Necron Catan spitting out mortal wounds, Grey Knight Psychers spitting out mortal wounds. I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of good things about this list, and yeah, I think for specialization, like I think it's probably like a 9 again, and yeah, I mean, like, it is a highly competitive tournament list. Um, I think scores of like probably 44 upwards are going to be tournament lists. Like I did the tournament winning list a few weeks back, and I think it scored 46. So I mean, it's probably hard to really score anything really higher than like 47 or 48 because you can't be strong in every single category. So I think what I'd like to say, Ollie, is let us know in the Facebook group, which is in the video description link. Let us know down there how, like, play some games with us and let us know what you think the strength and the weakness is. Would you change out any of the HQs? But overall, yeah, I mean, it's very solid. The only thing, I guess, you do just have 4 elites, so you could run this as 2 patrol detachments. You would take a 2 CP hit, but it would let you get a 4th character in there if you think there's another really strong character you would like. If you need to update a list you've submitted, please just put it in the latest community post again, like the new list, rather than reply to your old thread. It's much easier for me to find it if you do that way because I get like a notification. So awesome. All right, Ollie. I hope that was helpful. And yeah, I mean, you can hit me up with any questions or anything that you might have, and let's dive into list number 5 for today then. And this list number 5 is by Ray Davey. I think I saw Ray in the chat today. A lot of people been in chat today, and a lot of members in chat today. You guys are crushing it, so I really appreciate all you guys being members. It's so nice. Oops, wrong thing. Here we go. Alright, hopefully this is the correct place to post this. I am undecided on the Vanguard Veteran and the Blade Guard Veterans, but I think everything else works out alright. Okay, Ray. And did I update my thing? Yes. And at the end of the stream, I will put all the lists into the video description. So if you have any, if you need to see any of the lists after the stream, they'll be there for you guys to catch up with them. Thanks so much, Bloody Angels Commander. Keep up the great work. You're very welcome, Ollie. Yeah, let me know how it goes because welcome, D King. How you doing? Like I've built. Do you know what? I'll show you guys. It's really like. This is I build my lists in Excel, right? And you'll see the tabs along the bottom. Like, look at all these millions and millions of tabs of lists. So I've been building lists. Like I just, like I'm on iteration 12 of one of my lists, and I'm on this new patrol. So I'm gonna try a list with 2 patrol detachments in the near future, and then I'm also. I can't even remember what is in these lists at this point because we've been locked down since like 6 weeks or something ridiculous now. So hopefully we'll be able to meet some other person soon and play again. But yeah, I mean that's I keep umming and ahhing over reposting my list for consideration. I posted it about a month or so ago, but it must have gotten missed. Oh, I don't think I have you on the. I don't have you on. Normally I always put a little love heart when someone posts a list and I reply to it saying that they added it. I'm sorry, Mark. Definitely submit it. Definitely post it again for me then, because yeah, I'm looking at previous lists. I don't have it, so I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I try to not answer the list comments on my phone because it's like I save all the lists on my computer. So I guess somehow I've managed to miss that. Sorry about that. Are there any units in the game that can replace eradicators in points and function? I think right now, Jonathan, I did a video a few weeks back. Yeah, do you know what? I think it's literally called like, um, let me see. It's on the tactics playlist. Um, this one, our Eradicator's the best fire support. So you could literally watch that video, and I think point for point, it works out that Eradicators are better than everything else. But I mean, it doesn't mean you can't play everything else, right? Because, for example, in that video, I talk about the super heavy tank, the one that was in this picture, this massive giant tank that costs 615 points, and it actually doesn't. It like Eradicators beat it. If you work out the maths, the Eradicators will like do more damage than the super heavy tank, but like I was on an 8 game win streak with this tank in my list. So just because Eradicators are the best doesn't mean you have to play with them, right? If you want to, you can win with any list, right? You just need to build your own synergies. And the synergy I built around that super heavy tank was I took a Tech Marine and gave him, the Tech Marine gives one unit a +1 to its ballistic skill. Well, the +1 to the ballistic skill works really well on a tank that has 8 las cannons, 6 heavy volcano cannons, and 9 heavy bolters. Like +1. Normally, you'd be putting the +1 on like a dreadnought like this with us 4 las cannons. So you get incredible value using a Tech Marine on a super heavy tank to give it +1 to hit, right? So it's like, sure, on paper, Eradicators are better, but I mean, if you think about it and maybe think outside the box, like I was doing with this tank, then you can take whatever you want, right? I've been working on a double patrol list, good way to get 4 HQs in for me, and I'm trying to get a Chapter Master, Lib Dread, Support Jump Dread, and a Jump Sang Priest. Yeah, I think I'm doing very similar, Adam, but I'm trying to get the Death Company Captain in there as well. I just don't like Eradicators. Well, I mean, you don't have to field Eradicators. Devastator squads with like las cannons are probably a decent alternative, or Devastator squads with multi-meltas are probably a decent alternative as well. I'm going to be doing a Devastation of Ball game with a buddy. I'm bringing 4,200 points, and I'm thinking of letting him bring 5k. It's like the Winter's SEO video. That's a very cool idea, Mark. I would like to see that. Definitely share us some photos if you do that. All right, Ray. If you're in the chat, Ray, cool. If you're not, I guess you'll catch this on the live stream. Okay, so this is it's a smaller list then. 1,000. Oh, it's a very small list, like 1,145 points, and he's got a Primaris Chaplain on a bike with the Mantra of Strength, the Armor Indomitus, the Imperium Sword. Then we have the Sanguinary Priest with the Jump Pact, Selfless Healer, and as the Warlord. So that's all fine. And I guess because this is smaller, then this is a patrol detachment. So we just need the one troop, and we have the Infiltrator with the Helix Gauntlet, which, if you're only going to bring one troop, then I guess Helix Gauntlet Infiltrator makes a lot of sense because you can sit them on the backfield objective and not worry about it. Good evening, Jason. How you doing? I don't... Let me see. Then for the middle of the board, I guess, we've got Blade Guard Veterans, and this is a 4-man squad. Just the general, the layout that they normally have, the Bolt Pistol and the Mastercrafted Sword and the Storm Shield. Then we have a Sanguinary Guard, 2 Power Fists, 4 swords, Infernal Pistol, Plasma Pistol. I mean, I don't know if I see much value in Plasma Pistols and Sanguinary Guard because you are never going to be firing them on high power, right? So, I mean, if Strength 7, 1 damage shot is what you need, then I guess it's fine. But, I mean, I'd much rather just see Infernal Pistols because when you end up in combat, shooting those Infernal Pistols will generally be quite strong. Then we have the Vanguard Veteran Squad, which has the Storm Shield and Thunderhammer, Lightning Claw and Storm Shield, Lightning Claw and Storm Shield, Bolt Pistol and Chainsword, and then Infernal Pistol and Relic Blade. So a bit of a different Vanguard Veteran Squad, but I mean, having the Lightning Claws in there is fine. 150 points. I will look at Lightning Claws Vanguard Veterans against Death Company. We'll do that very soon. We'll try and make that top priority. And then we've got 2 attack bites with multi-meltas. Do you know what you were asking a minute ago about eradicators? And someone, I think, Reziel was saying he didn't like them, and someone else was saying, is there anything else that you could run except eradicators? Uh, what about attack bikes? Right, attack bikes are literally 10 points more, and they're basically an eradicator with. So for the 10 points more, you get one more toughness. You get like 4 bolter shots, I guess, because it's like a twin bolter. So you get one more toughness and 4 bolter shots, and you still have the 2-shot multi melta. Uh, and obviously you get a 12-inch move, same toughness. So I mean, like for 10 points per model, the bikes are actually fine, right? Like you get to move more, you get 4 bolter shots, and you get one more wound. And we often talk about 10 points usually is just one additional wound. So in this case, you're actually getting 4 bolter shots, and like eradicators just move. I've only fielded eradicators once. I forget if they move 5 or 6. I feel like they should move 5 because they're in Gravis armor, but maybe they just, yeah, they move 5. So you get 7 inches more movement, you get 4 bolter shots, and you get one more wound for 10 points. I mean, point for point, that's actually pretty decent, right? And I guess the other thing to consider is that attack bikes aren't infantry, so when they move and shoot, they don't take any -1 to hit. So I mean, consider that, I guess, if you really don't write eradicators. Are attack bikes a possible alternative? I think so. Um, Jason says, apologies if this has been asked. John, what kind of tank is yours? The super tank. Is the falchion or the fellblade? I have the falchion, Jason, and the reason I bought the falchion was I kept playing against people that had knight armies, and I kept losing, and I thought, like, oh, screw it, I'm just going to buy something that kills knights in one shot. And I mean, it does just 100% do that. The Fellblade is the same points, and it is maybe a little bit more versatile because in the main cannon you can choose to shoot the cannon in like a tank killing mode or more like a anti-horde mode. So the Fellblade is a little bit more versatile, I think. But there's something to be said about that main cannon and the falchion, right? Like it averages 4 shots per turn. Its strength, if you have the Tech Marine there, it hits on 2s. Its strength 14, so it wounds on 2s. Against pretty much everything. I mean, toughness. Against toughness 8, it wounds on 3s. And then it's -5, but I mean, if the Devastator Doctrine's on, it's -6. And it's the flat 6 damage that is honestly the killer, because it's like, like I've had it where, like, I think in the video against Death Guard, I killed a Great Unclean One from full health with 1 barrage from that cannon. The tank still has 8 more las cannons and like 9 heavy bolter shots to come as well. And like the main cannon just killed a Great Unclean One from full health, 1 shot. Take land speeders with multi meltas and some other gun to your taste. Yeah, I mean, bikes probably fit Blood Angels a little bit better than eradicators. I mean, it's hard for me to judge. I was literally on stream last night painting eradicators, but I do actually have multi-melta bikes already painted. So maybe I saw you shoot the old Nurgling with the falchion and was impressed. Yeah, I mean, it is generally a pretty cool model. I just don't know if it's that like if you play it against like in like a semi-casual competitive environment, I think it will win quite a lot of games. Will you play it in a tournament? Will it win games? Maybe not so much. And then to finish off this list, then we've got Inceptors. So I mean, I guess as a bear, this list is going to be hard for me to score because it's incomplete and I don't know where he was going with it. But I mean, it's an alright list to begin with. And I guess if I was going to improve this list, like the next thing I would buy would maybe be a Redemptor Dreadnought. I generally think they're just a very good all-round choice, and the ability to do that Wisdom of the Ancient buff is very strong. And then maybe like a small 5-man Death Company with jump packs as well. I think that's a great addition to any Blood Angels list. It's a 5-man Death Company, 4 chainswords and 1 Thunderhammer, really strong at taking out enemies in the backfield. So I like that a lot. So yeah, I mean, I'm not I'm not sure. What I think I'm going to say, Ray, is I'm not going to score your list because I feel like I can't score it because I don't exactly know what points you're going for here. Um, but I mean, I think your general strategy for the list is okay. I think once you know, take this list here, maybe add a Redemptor, maybe add that 5-man Death Company, and build it up to a complete list for 2,000 points or 1,500 points, and then resubmit it, and I'll have a look at it again, if that's all right. Uh, but I mean, I think the general feel of it is fine, and maybe also so a small Death Company, a Redemptor Dreadnought, and maybe like another Phobos unit, maybe Incursors because you already got Infiltrators. I think that would sort of take this list in the right direction for the future. All right, cool. So that is that is all of our lists today. Attack bites with multi meltas are getting talked about a lot online lately. Yeah, I mean, I mean, maybe I should. You've got me thinking, Mark. Do I need to adjust my list and get rid of the Eradicators out of it? Do you know what? Since we're finished and I've got a few more minutes, maybe I got like 10 more minutes before we need to wrap up. We'll talk about like what I was looking at as a patrol list. And this was the list that I was maybe thinking of running as soon as the lockdown ends, basically, and we can actually do some live games on the channel. So as soon as lockdown ends, we're going to bring back the Monday Night Live show. And in the Monday Night Live show, this is the list that I was going to be running. Could you do a video top 10 or 20 highest scoring lists, look at good synergies, and could you synergize with the video requests earlier regarding secondaries? Yeah, I mean, I do new videos every week. I want to do... The reason I'm painting my list is that I want to get my list super strong, and then I want to do... There was a video on my channel I did at the start of 9th edition about my current list, and I want to do a video about my new list and like you said, talk about all the synergies. If you watch the live shows, I'm always painting. I was painting this morning for a few hours. Let me show you my Vanguards. They are really coming along nicely, I think. They're not actually in this list, which is kind of funny, but so the Golden Vanguard Veteran Sergeant, Infernal Pistol and Sword, and then we have Thunderhammer Vanguard Veteran. So these guys are... I just put the texture paint down this morning. A bit of dry brushing and a bit of tidy up needed yet to finish them, but I am going to finish those Vanguard Veterans, and we've got Blade Guard Veterans on the go. We've got Eradicators on the go. But yeah, where I was thinking right now was to try and make a list with 2 patrol detachments, right? So you start with 10 CP. Warlord traits, we've taken Gift of Foresight. We've taken the Angel's Artifice. We've also taken Adamantium Mantle to make this crazy powerful captain. So we've got the captain on the bike. He's the Chapter Master. He's the Adamantium Mantle. He's a Thunderhammer. He's a Storm Shield. He's the Angel's Artifice. He was Warlord in the Gift of Foresight. So he's an absolute beast. We then have your standard Sanguinary Priest, Selfless Healer, Chief Apothecary. We then have a captain on a bike who is part of the Death Company, Storm Shield, Teeth of Terror. I think for 130 points, he's actually kind of amazing. We also have a Librarian. I've put him in Terminator armor, and I've given him Iron Resolve and the Tomb of Malachor. So we have the Veil of Time, so we can fight first. We have Wings of Sanguinius, so we can fly. We have Null Zone, so we can take off enemies' psychic powers. I mean, maybe actually this needs to be Psychic Mastery in hindsight. So basically we're almost guaranteeing our powers go off. We just have 2 troop choices, 1 in each patrol. So it's a squad of infiltrators with a Helix Gauntlet for the backfield. Super survivable, just going to sit in the backfield most of the game, I imagine. And then Incursors for like a deployed position. For the middle of the board, we have 5 Blade Guard Vets. These X's at the end means this shit needs painted, so I'm in like a horrible place where like I need to paint stuff. Oh shit, sorry, screen. Yeah, so sorry, captain on the bike, or chapter master on the bike. He's a beast. Then we have the captain on the bike with the Death Company, Teeth of Terra. This librarian with the three different powers. Chief librarian Tuma Malkor. He actually gets one more power. I've missed one here because he should get 4 powers. So Psychic Fortress. Sorry, I just maybe need to just put them so that they're next to each other, so don't forget that. This X means this needs painted. So far too much of this list needs painted. Then we have just one troop in each patrol. Infiltrators with Helix Gauntlet and Cursors. For the middle of the board, we have 5 Blade Guard veterans. Remember, by doing 2 patrols, we're only going to have 4 elites, so we have to deal with that. So how we do 4 elites is we have Blade Guard veterans, and then we have 8 Sanguinary Guard, 3 Power Fists, 1 Infernal Pistol. The rest will just be a mix of swords and that. Death Company with the 5-man jump pack, 1 Thunderhammer. For free, we're going to get our company champion, who is upgraded to the chapter champion. And then he's going to be accompanied with 2 bodyguards with lightning claws and storm shields, and the Blade Guard veterans. So basically what I'm thinking is the middle of the map, rather than normally go to the middle of the map with like assault intercessors or cursors or something, we're going to go there with Blade Guard veterans, a company champion, and 2 company veterans. So everybody's going to have storm shields. I mean, I guess the company champion's going to have just his combat shield, but you're not going to be able to shoot him, right? So in the middle of the map, we're just going to have a huge amount of really strong melee units. And then we're going to have those suppressors to turn off any sort of overwatch. We're also going to have the whirlwind, again, to make fight last, turn off any overwatch from even tougher targets. Then I had 1 attack bike and some eradicators, but maybe there's talk there where it could be like more attack bikes and then something else that's strong. I mean, maybe this list is so mobile, I guess, that are eradicators the right call here? Hard to say. I also like Typhoons because their missile launchers are really versatile. I just found a whirlwind in my pile of shame. You know what? I've painted my whirlwind turret, but I need to do the tracks. So, way too much of this list needs painted right now. Death Company Captain with Chainsword is nice. The Flesh Tear's Chainsword is actually great. Yeah, I mean, I think with the Relic Chainsword, you mentioned a kind of know your enemy sort of video for taking Blood Angels against different factions. So that was a great idea and would cast my vote for that any time. Yeah, I think that I need to have a look at that as well. Hey Echo Mirage, thanks for tuning in today. How are you? So this list is very, very melee focused, right? I mean, we do have a whirlwind, but we know it doesn't do a lot of damage, and we do have suppressors, and we know they don't do a lot of damage. So you'd expect your eradicators and your bikes to be doing the damage, and these eradicators here are actually with a heavy melter rifle, so at half range they get that +4 damage. Again, point for point, that is actually the most powerful thing in the game right now. They'll do more damage than these attack bikes with multi-meltas, but I mean, maybe there is something to be said about switching some of this up. Like, we could add some more company veterans to make that sort of middle board control more powerful, but I think like 5 Blade Guard veterans with potentially a Sanguinary Priest chilling out in the middle of the board is going to be very strong, because I use the Chapter Master as my warlords. The Chapter Master and the Sanguinary Guard will be on a flank or something, and we know how strong that Chapter Master is. They're probably going to be the captain, the Death Company captain with the bike there as well, using his Relic Chainsword. And or the other thing that's interesting with this list is that you could always change this out to be the Hammer of Baal. Like, you would need like 10 points to do it, and I mean, there's ways that we can save 10 points, right? We can take off the Helix Gauntlet here, and then we just need 5 more points. So I'm sure there's something else we could drop, or we could save 5 points somewhere. We could drop a Blade Guard veteran and add a Sanguinary Guard or something, and get those 5 points back. So yeah, and I mean, I think that was an evolution of this. So the list that I had first, which is the more common list, was the 3HQ. And when we're talking about 3HQ, I guess I rate the Sanguinary Priest as the lowest value. So the Chapter Master on the bike is first, the Captain on the bike is second, that Utility Librarian is third, and the Sanguinary Priest just doesn't make it in if we... like in this list, I put down a... So it's a very similar list. We've got the 3 Phobos, we've got the 8 Sanguinary Guard, we've got the Death Company, we put in a Primaris Apothecary and made him the Selfless Healer. So to do that, again, it's kind of like having the 4 HQ. We Company Champion, 3 Blade Guard Vets, the couple of veterans that are the bodyguards, and then in this one we have a Leviathan Dreadnought and we have the Vengeance. So I guess we lose some of the Overwatch capability, but we add sort of that crazy distraction Leviathan Dreadnought. Might I say the Razorback or Rhino instead of the suppressors to get the champion and vets up the board? I mean, maybe. I mean, there's just so many options, right? Like I've had a lot of time in lockdown where I haven't been able to play. So these are the 2 lists that I really want to play. I've wanted to play them now for a while, and I guess we'll see what's happening. You know, with the lockdown, we'll probably end up playing both of them. You know, like I feel like if you compare these sort of lists to the tournament winning list that we looked at last week, the main difference is that they have maybe some more Sanguinary Guard, right? But like, I'm playing a different strategy here where like I am planning to go to the middle of the board. In this list, it was like I'm going to sit on the middle objective with the Blade Guard veterans, with the Company Champion, with the guys with Lightning Claws, and with an Apothecary, and score my Oath of Moment points. And if you come anywhere near the middle of the board, you're going to get charged by all this shit, and you're not going to survive, I would have hoped, right? And we do have the way to counter fight last, and we do have a way to add fight first as well. So both these lists I think would be pretty interesting. And I mean, it is, yeah, I mean, putting the Blade Guard veterans up the board quickly is important, but like in these lists, we're purposely just thinking the Blade Guard veterans are just going to center field. They are tanky, storm shielded units with 3 wounds each. We're just going for center field. We're going to use the Death Company, the Sanguinary Guard, and the very mobile characters to go for like backfield objectives. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just, the champion doesn't take a force organization slot because we have company veterans. That's the way you get round this patrol. So I've basically put free, but what I should really say is like no force organization. So basically, if your list includes a chapter master or a character, you can take like the champion and the veterans, and they don't take an elite slot essentially. So I guess they're just part of that patrol detachment, but they have no force organization. Okay. Yeah. So we'll get to playing with these lists as soon as we can, guys. And I think they're going to be very competitive, based on all my playing of 9th edition and based on all the other lists that we've been seeing that are doing very well and winning tournaments. And yeah, maybe there is something to be said about those eradicators. Could they just be replaced with land speeders? Or land speeders do get a pretty neat stratagem as well, don't they? About like they get a neat like deny overwatch as well or something. I forget what it's called. I've never used it. I think is it not called like shock grenades or something? I think it's them or Reavers that can use it, and they have to be within 6 inches of the target, which seems very strange, but it is. I did read it and think it's pretty powerful. It's called Shock and Awe. Is it? Oh, it's only the land speeder Storm that can use it. Selected unit cannot fire Overwatch. Each time a model is selected unit make an attack, subtract 1 from that attack roll. So, I mean, the Land Speeder Storm is more limited. So, it's Reavers in the Land Speeder Storm that can use Shock and Awe. And, like, no one's fielding Reavers, and I guess I'm not so sure how many people are fielding Land Speeder Storms. But, yeah, no, thank you guys for your time this Sunday. I hope we learned a lot this week. It was a pretty cool stream. Thank you to everybody for their submissions this week. They're always really appreciated. I mean, there would be no stream without the submissions. I hope you guys all have some food for thought. And oh shit, no, that's not next week. That's the archive. So next week, we have a few of the familiar names from chat. So Tony, who is a member, and Jonathan is now a member as well. Thank you for becoming a member today, Jonathan. I appreciate it. Reavers have shot grenades, yeah. Like Seth and Dante don't have a captain keyword, so no company command. Do they not? I did not realise that. That's that's another disadvantage to taking Dante, I guess. Yeah, no, thank you everybody for tuning in, and yeah, I will post all the lists from this week in the description to the video down below as soon as the stream ends. So I will hopefully be back on Tuesday, and I think at popular request it'll probably be Death Company versus Vanguard Veterans will be Tuesday's video. And I don't know what we're doing next Friday yet, but yeah, we'll be back I'm sure on Tuesday, and I'm sure we'll be back for some hobbying streams as well. We've got a lot to do. Thank you everybody for all the support. Thank you to the new people that become members today as well, and I hope you guys all have a great Sunday. I'm sure we'll see you all soon. Yeah, I think that's it. So, by the blood are we made, brothers. Peace.